Hey, what up, jerks, tonight? What a day in court today. Man, I didn't think it went perfectly for the defense today. I thought there was the first witness, I don't think it went well. I'll just say that. I'm interested to see what Bederow says, but I think the other witnesses were really good for the defense today. There was a lot to today. I think everybody was watching it. Yeah, false memory has come up. That's the word of the day or the phrase of the day. False memory. Let's bring up Bederow. I want to hear what he has to say. We have him. It's going to be a quick hour. Tonight. We're going to make sure no super chats are read until the end of the show. So if you have any questions, post them for free in the chat. We'll try to get to them. We have them for I think a quick hour, and then we're going to have Mazza and Mizzy up here to talk more about the movement stuff. Right now, it's about the court stuff. We got the expert. Let's bring up Attorney Mark Bederow. How you
All
doing,
right.
Mr. Bederow?
Okay. How are you?
Good. I'm stealing from Kim, Nurse Kim. She
I noticed
calls you
that.
Mr. Bederow.
She does.
I'm always like Attorney Mark Bederow or Mark, but she likes Mr. Bederow. I like that one actually. It's fun.
However you want to do it works for me.
I heard you had a wild night last night on Melanie Little with the Glera last night. What was going on there? I heard you did a mock jury thing. Were you presenting? What was going on last night?
I don't know if I would call it that. It just kind of came out of nowhere that we were discussing Proctor, and uh, it just turned into kind of what a primitive mock examination of Proctor would be. So, it just kind of happened naturally. We had a little fun with it. It was interesting. But, the big debate was whether people's views on Proctor. And I think they should do it. And I think with what you saw today, at least in the first 30 minutes, it was clunky. I don't think it was great. I agree with you what you just said. I don't think it's fatal or anything like that. I think there's reasonable reason that a lot of intelligent people would say we shouldn't call him, but I don't understand what that was with the first witness. And I think, when people were even complaining about what Brennan was doing, no, I think he did exactly what he was supposed to do from his standpoint. And I think he was effective in the way he did it. See, it's not all criticism. So,
It's funny because I've gone back and forth about him, and I think he is actually effective in some respects. So he
well, yes,
annoys the crap out of me, but he
yeah, you're
is there
playing
is
it
something
well.
to him. He has some skills.
Look, he stole their thunder with the text messages. They yielded it to him, and he took it and ran with it, and got a lot of the bad ones out, the ones that he could. And by the time they come out, if they come out in the defense, the jury's already heard them. They are desensitized to some bit. And he had a very sympathetic character talk about them who clearly didn't want to be there, but was very polite, as opposed to the next witness who didn't want to be there, who was the exact opposite, which we'll get to. And when people were saying, oh my God, some of those messages were really offensive, and then some of them were, including one we hadn't heard before, which I don't even want to say, to be honest with you, about how it could impact kids and things like that. But he was right to do that, because what his argument is that he got fired for these text messages, not for screwing up the investigation. So I think he had a win, if you will, for his side on that issue, at least so far. I mean, they could still call Proctor, but at this point, why would you? And, this witness they used today, he can't explain thought process and can't be confronted with the messages where Proctor could, and other
Right.
things. So,
That's what was getting me. It was
mhm.
like, why are you doing this? Because now you can't ask him, what did you mean when you said this? Or what did all that stuff. You can't, just
Well,
some guy who's just
they
reading the text.
they introduced the text and didn't have him read them. So they clearly had another plan for the messages, and Brennan saw the opening and jumped the gun and did it. And you tip your hat to him for that. That was clever and effective. How effective? I don't think it's the biggest deal in the world, but that it wasn't, in my view, a good start for them today.
Definitely. And let's talk about this after that. The next witness, the one that we're talking about, the false memory, the new phrase everyone's talking about on Twitter right now. Uh, what do you think about all of that today with Kelly Devers?
Uh, wow. She, where do you even begin? Her demeanor was disgraceful. I mean, she's a sworn police officer, has been for a number of years, and she was petulant. I thought she was childish. I thought she was nasty for the sake of being nasty. I thought she was biased, all of that. And even if she felt inclined to testify in the way that she wanted to, and it's clear to me, like I tweeted earlier, that she's being held hostage by the blue wall, there is a way to do it. If you want to be effective, all she had to do was be polite, stick to her guns, as ridiculous as it sounds. And it might have actually been a little bit effective. Instead, she comes out fists swinging, guns ablazing, ready to fight and duke it out. And she just seems ridiculous. And when she starts using a false memory claim, the problem she has is this. She gets interviewed by the feds, as it were, I think she said in August of 2023, I think she said, right?
Yes. Yeah, that was right.
This is months after the whole public lid was blown off this case. Everybody knew what was going on publicly. The feds came and talked to her, and she didn't just say, I think I remember a time where I might have seen Higgins and Berkowitz hanging out in the Sally Port. No, she was actually quite clear. It was the same day. It was later that day. It was around 5 or sometime shortly after 5 o'clock. And it was Berkowitz and Higgins. And I was laser focused on how, I think the word was, wildly weird or inappropriate this was. And she remembered it specifically because Higgins was a witness in that case. So she added details to her false memory, which is just hard to understand. She wasn't ambiguous. She was giving examples. And you see this a lot of times in liars. They go into the weeds too deep. And that story was apparently fine for a while. The other thing that people just ignore is, sometime in 2022, out of nowhere, she just left the Canton Police and ended up, of all places, the John O'Keefe Police Department. And word gets out that they want to speak to her because she made statements that are clearly favorable to the defense. I mean, if you have Berkowitz and Higgins doing something in a Sally Port, Higgins is obviously Higgins. Don't forget, Berkowitz is the guy who, one of the first few times that we ever spoke, at the time, we called him Chief Wiggum, if you remember, who just happened to, like a Simpsons cartoon character, find a piece of plastic with his Coke bottle glasses and look at this. And, who's to say whether it's true or not, but as kind of ridiculous as that story seemed, or as reason to doubt it as it seemed, it's a hell of a lot more disturbing when you realize that a Canton police officer who quickly left the department told the FBI that I saw them in there for a long time and it was weird. And when it becomes apparent that the defense is going to want to speak to her, obviously, to testify, and the chief of the Boston police, or commissioner, whatever he is, in Boston is commissioner, right? Yeah. Some cities have chiefs. He's commissioner.
Yeah.
And, by the way, we're not talking about the chief of the Canton Police Department where, yeah, me and my 20 officers, right? The Boston Police Department is one of the largest in the country. It's not New York, obviously, which has like 45,000, or it's not the LAPD or anything like that, but it's a huge police department. And you're supposed to believe that the commissioner of the police wants to talk to this nobody rookie police officer who's about to testify in a case. It just happens to be the case where one of their own was allegedly murdered, and she gave or is going to give testimony that would be harmful to the case prosecuting someone that the state alleges is responsible for the murder of the Boston police officer. And he tells her, we protect you here. We're good. You just go do the right thing. That is absolutely code for remember how your bread is buttered.
Yeah.
This is remember who you are. Remember where you work. I'm sure you'll do the right thing. I mean, again, it feels very mafia style. It does.
This is how it works. Yeah.
And
it is the commissioner. I looked it up. I wanted to make sure I should have I knew it was commissioner, but I looked it up. It is actually Commissioner Cox.
It's how it feels. And then, you come to learn this is not an evidence at the trial. It's just something I saw online. So if this is inaccurate, I apologize, but somebody said her salary went flying through the roof.
Yeah. What about that?
Now, again, it's not in evidence. The jury doesn't know that. So then she gets called in to testify, and you can see her demeanor. She's clearly being held hostage. She's petulant. She's looking to give digs and say things. And she made it a complete disaster. And it turned out it was a very risky move for them to do it, but it worked out. I mean, it actually worked out for the defense because with her demeanor and how ridiculous it was about claiming it was a false memory. And I did tell the FBI this, and that's what I remembered at the time, but then I learned it wasn't true, blah, 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 blah. And you saw her demeanor, her petulance, everything else. This is a case where the defense is alleging that the police are screwing over Karen and that there's misconduct, there are shenanigans, and just all kinds of skullduggery going on, if you will, with the police conduct in this case. And Officer Dever is the poster child of that, and Exhibit A for the defense to look at the jury and say, are you freaking kidding me? Look what's going on. Okay. Look how everybody, when they get confronted by the feds, they seem to say one thing and respect it. But when it's just the state, they're willing to say whatever they're going to say that's going to help the prosecution. They have no burden of proof, as everybody knows. This is not a good look for the prosecution. A lot of the anonymous lawyers and online trolls, they think I'm carrying water. And I just laugh because all it tells you is they're not real lawyers, or that they're not lawyers at all. Or they don't understand what they're talking about if they think that this was a good exercise for the prosecution. It was not. It was a lot of risk for the defense to do it. In the beginning, it looked a little dicey, but she is not nearly as clever as she thought she was. She embarrassed herself. She embarrassed her badge. She embarrassed the Boston police. She embarrassed the Boston police commissioner, and she embarrassed the Norfolk DA bringing the case. And, you have to ask yourself, this is someone on the street as a police officer who, tells the FBI one thing and then claims it's all a false memory and I'm just confused, and how that makes people feel about somebody and their fitness to be a police officer. I don't know. Accusing the defense of, they're going to charge me with perjury.
What is that about?
I don't know. I mean, obviously, if you're not a party to the conversation, you don't know. But I mean, you could certainly see if they're talking to her and she's telling them this never happened, or
Right.
and they're saying, but they're saying, but I'm reading your statement to the FBI, and if you say that, that could be deemed untrue. I mean, that's not threatening with perjury, okay? She she made it sound like they literally said, if you don't do this, I will charge you with. Now, never mind the fact they have no power to charge
She
anyone.
no, that's what I'm saying. She's a police officer.
Let's give her
She
the
knows
benefit of
who
the doubt.
prosecutes people. She
Let,
knows that
let's
it's not a defense
let,
attorney.
let's give her that and say, if she's what she really means to say is, if she's suggesting that the defense said, if you don't testify consistent with this, then we will absolutely refer you to somebody for perjury. The odds of that being true are, you can't say anything's impossible. I mean, it's not impossible the Red Sox are going to win the World Series, right? It's not going to happen. So, but the odds of them literally threatening her with perjury, as opposed to saying, well, this is problematic because this is what you told the FBI, and it's a crime to lie to the FBI on a material fact. That's true. That could, what's going on here. She could be taking that and conflating it into this, bullshit lie that they threatened me to file or have charges filed against me. Either way, she is not bright, not charismatic, not helpful for the prosecution at all. Plays
Not at
right in
all.
the defense theory of the case.
Yeah, I'm glad you said it was risky because I felt like it was risky. It
Very
almost
risky.
felt, yeah, but it worked out. I feel like they should probably take more risk. Another risk I thought about with her, and it's come up today a lot on the social media. People are asking about the video because there's that Sally Port video, and there's definitely a female. And people have speculated for a long time, is it Helena Rafferty or is it this witness today? One of them. It has to be. I mean, there aren't a lot of females that are working at Canton Police Department. So
Um,
those are the two that everyone keep bringing up. I'm not aware of any other female officers that would have been there. Should they
I'm
have
not.
asked about that? Should they have like looked
Um,
at the video and said, "Hey, is that you? Is that you right there?"
I don't know, because I think what she was saying, and correct me if I'm wrong, the way it came out, that what she claims to have told the FBI before she, remembered that it was a false memory, was that what she actually saw was on the TV screens from dispatch. So if that's the case, then in theory, she wouldn't be in the Sally Port itself. She was watching the other people. So, and if I have that wrong, I have it wrong. But no, I mean, they got what they wanted. I mean, every time these witnesses testify, what do you want the jury to remember? One or two important things that are favorable to your side, hopefully. Well, when you look at Dever, what are the two things that the jury's going to remember? Number one,
False memory.
She told the
Yeah,
Fed that Berkowitz and Higgins were in the Sally Port the day of this incident. And the other thing you're going to, well, there's three things. The other thing you're going to remember is she then claimed that that never happened. I just made it up by accident. And then, of course, the third thing you're going to remember is her atrocious demeanor. And this is becoming a pattern with prosecution witnesses. Now, in the normal course of trials, this is usually a defense problem, not a prosecution problem, for what it's worth. Usually, the prosecution doesn't have police officers who act like jerks or they're afraid to call. They normally don't have professional expert engineers who act like jerks on cross examination. In this case, you've seen a pattern of it, and it's this case really is ass backwards in terms of who the prosecution is and who the defense is in terms of how trials traditionally are had. You've had just some really bad, aggressive prosecution witnesses, police officers, experts, and it's just surprising.
when you talk about the risk, it seems like they got exactly what they wanted here. The three things that you mentioned,
Yeah,
even like if I'm putting them on a list, they're ahead of even the question about the Sally Port. I could totally see that because it's
yeah.
like, what's the payoff there? She's gonna say no, it's not her, right? I mean, so it's like you got what you wanted, especially with the false memory.
I mean,
And
look,
the FBI stuff too. Like, it does that
yeah,
bring in the FBI? I mean, the jury must have
look,
be
the door's
aware
open.
now. Something's going
The
on.
door, the door was probably already open before today. I think this witness literally uttered the letters FBI, literally. Um, Not only that, both her and McCabe have made the FBI interviews material issues. They've tried to explain it, defend against it, put it in context. At this point, it should be fair game to bring out that they were the FBI, that they came knocking, and that these witnesses were concerned or not. They were warned about lying to the feds. They told them the truth and then tried to backtrack or whatever it is, or why Jennifer McCabe terminated the interview when her testimony had been how cooperative I am with all law enforcement. That's not true. She was entirely uncooperative with the only law enforcement agency that was not directly connected to the Canton cabal, right? I mean, that's just not true. And this witness was entirely cooperative with the FBI until the Boston Police Commissioner stepped into the proceedings. So this should be fair game. And yes, it should be fair game for when the ARCA guys testify. If I were them, I would make the motion. The cat's out of the bag. You always threaten people if you open the door and your witness opens the door. Well, you have to live with that. Well, they've had multiple witnesses open the door. Okay. I mean, it wasn't elicited by the defense. She was a defense witness, but she blurted out the FBI. That's not, that wasn't a setup. She wasn't cooperative with them. This ought to be out there. There's no reason at this point to hide that. Or, I mean, the first trial, which is another word you can't talk about. I mean, you saw even today, just to jump ahead, it's so ridiculous about hiding the first trial that even today, when Brennan was talking about hearings and proceedings, and this isn't a criticism of him, I'm just saying this is the reality. The way he differentiated was, well, one was just in front of the judge and one was with the judge and other people. I mean, obviously a jury. So we ought to just, cut the crap, get to the truth, and let the jury know what's going on. There's no harm at this point. Better they know and be cautioned and advised than speculate, which is the fear when it comes to the ARCA witnesses, that they don't know. They ought to know.
Thinking that the FBI was investigating Karen Reed. Like, that's what I'm afraid of. So I feel like they have to push even harder to get it known that ARCA were hired by the FBI, because I feel like they won't get it. They'll start speculating that.
By the way, when I say FBI, I shouldn't even say FBI. I mean, it's the Justice Department.
Yes.
I mean, the investigation, if you want to get really technical, it's the U.S. Attorney, and they're using the FBI as essentially the police because they're the federal police generally. But the shot callers are the U.S. Attorney, not the FBI.
Everyone wants to ask about this missing witness motion that just the defense filed. It could be.
It's got to be
Higgins. It could be. What do you think? Do you know anything about it?
Well, I know nothing about it. I would think it relates to Proctor. I mean, could it relate to other people? I hope it doesn't relate to Higgins. I mean, not calling Higgins to me would be worse than not calling Proctor, actually. But again, that's my view. It doesn't mean other people don't disagree. But I mean, certainly, I would assume Proctor. He's available to the prosecution. He should be expected to testify favorably for them on a material fact. His testimony is not cumulative, and they didn't call him. I mean, it really checks off the boxes of when somebody would seek a missing witness charge. Now, the prosecution is going to push back and say, well, he's equally available to you, so you could call him. But the difference is his testimony isn't expected to be favorable to them. You'd expect it to be, it ought to be favorable to the prosecution. This is going to be a discretionary thing. I'm not going to sit here and tell you what it is. These missing witness motions, applications, it's really what you're requesting is what's called a missing witness charge. This comes up all the time in trials. this is a good faith application. I don't know whether this judge will grant it or not, but um, they would be good. They're good motions, and you'll have to wait and see. But the DA is just going to say you can call them anytime you want, so don't blame us. The argument they'll make is that they're expected to give testimony favorable to the prosecution, and we shouldn't have to call a witness for the purpose of impeaching him. And certainly, technically, you're not supposed to call a witness solely for the purpose of impeachment. So, I mean, it really gets into the legal weeds, but I would imagine that that motion is about Proctor. And if there's more than one, I think you're talking about Higgins and people like that.
Because it seems I believe there might be more than one, and I'm hearing some things like let's just
Oh,
say if one of the people, it's a rumor, and I don't really want to speculate or say too much, get in trouble here. Things are
well,
very tight. You
when you
know how things are with
already,
witnesses. But
let's hear it.
let's say like one of the witnesses wasn't available. Like we know Berkowitz, but last time he passed away. Um, so let's say, pretend it was Berkowitz again. Let's like he was in a cancer ward or something and he's not available. If someone's not available for health
There's no missing
reasons,
witness charge.
what would happen there? Would that be something they would file a missing
No,
witness motion?
no, that would be frivolous because you can't. The purpose of a missing witness charge is to argue to the jury that you should draw an adverse inference, something bad, against the prosecutor for not calling this witness. And the argument would be, they're not calling this witness because they know it would
Okay.
hurt. It ought
So they
now.
could do that for all of them. It'd be, I mean, a lot of them. Like you said,
They
Higgins, it
could.
could
Now
be
you
Proctor, Higgins, and
Well, they
yeah.
could, but stay on Berkowitz first. Berkowitz is dead. He's not
Yeah.
available. So that's
Here.
no, that would be frivolous. The other thing is this: you don't get a missing witness charge, and the Massachusetts law is almost exactly identical to New York. You don't get a missing witness charge if the testimony is cumulative to other evidence. So what they would argue is, well, we have two people from the house, and so you don't get the whole here come all the Alberts, all this, and it's the same. Now, it's not all the same. There is stuff with Brian Albert and Nicole Albert which could be unique. That's not just I didn't hear a noise or see anything or see a body, that kind of thing. So, you make it and you go down the line for each one. I mean, I think that's the right thing to do. I don't know that they would get a lot of these. Proctor would be the big one that they would seek, and Higgins, I think, would be the other one. But again, you have to remember from the prosecution standpoint, their argument with someone like Higgins is going to be he's not relevant. It's like he doesn't know anything. And if you think he does, call him. So these are very complicated motions. They don't get granted easily. They're very harmful if one is issued against you. I mean, and you can get them on both sides. It would, I mean, if you got a missing witness charge on Proctor, the jury would be instructed, you don't have to. It's called a, permissive or presumptive inference, not you must, you may. But either way, you don't want to give the defense the argument, the ability to say that the jury is going to be charged you're going to hear the judge tell you, you can assume that because they didn't call him, that he would have torpedoed the case for them, that kind of thing. So it's a big deal if they get it. They probably won't.
She does that. Yeah, you don't think she will?
No,
So at this point, I mean, I feel like you the whole time. It felt like they really should bring out Proctor.
100%. I am 100%. He can't hurt you. I mean, we went over this in some other places. I'm not worried about his sympathy. I want to walk him through the investigation and say everything he didn't do and everything he did wrong. I want to go over critical evidence with him that's already in evidence, which is a free shot at the jury to go over it again. And I need him to finish the impeachment of Jennifer McCabe. I need him to say she did not tell me that, I hit him, I hit him, I hit him. They have not closed that impeachment with Jennifer McCabe, and I that's kind of an underrated part of all this. You forget because it's like 6 years ago. It
But
feels like, but it's important.
I mean, if you can, that's like one of his biggest things on this whole case. It's, you know, what these people said they heard, So
You know,
if you could
the other
undermine that,
yeah, the other thing is this: if they were not putting on a defense, if they literally after the people, I keep the Commonwealth, get out of that. Unless he's done this too, he keeps saying New York a few times. After they rest and you make your motions, it gets denied, and then the judge looks and says, it is the defense putting on a case, and you say, Your Honor, we rest. That happens. I've done that many times. The case is so bad, and you don't feel the need for whatever reason. Now, they didn't do that here. If they had, then they would have a much better argument in summation about the prosecution's failure to call Proctor, because they could go all in, and then the DA could not push back and say, well, they could have called them. Because that's burden shifting and that's reversible error. You can't, if the defense exercises its right not to call anyone, you can't say they should have done this. That's burden shifting. But they did put on a case. They did call witnesses. So Brennan can say, look, they put on a case. They made a decision to call witnesses. They even called this, essentially hostile witness, Dever, and they chose not to call Proctor. So if it was really that big a deal and so important, they didn't do it. That's an argument Brennan's going to make. It dilutes it a little bit. So, I don't think it's as powerful as it might sound about blaming them for not calling them. It's still a good argument, but I think the better argument at this point in summation is you needed to hear from Proctor, and we had to do it. We had to extract it from him, and you heard da 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 da, and do it that way. But look, they know what they're doing. They know things we don't know. They have access to information we don't. They're living, breathing this 24 hours a day, and have about 100 years of experience between, the three or four of them. So there's a reason they're doing it the way they are, and so it's not unreasonable what they're doing strategically. I get it. This is just one lawyer's opinion. I think it's the wrong way to do it.
if they don't get this missing witness statement against Proctor, do they reconsider at that point, do you think?
Well, they won't get a ruling on this until, before summation, when they have a charge conference.
Really?
Yeah, they're not getting an advance ruling on this tomorrow. No, this is the kind of thing when before summation conference about what am I telling the jury? And one of the issues will be the missing witness charge. No, they're not going to get an opinion in advance and say, well, in that case, we're cool. We don't have to do it. No, she's probably going to sit on that until they rest, at which point the evidence is over, other than whatever rebuttal Brennan does.
So that's a risk to take, and I think they got to call him.
I don't think they are. I mean, I think they certainly have the right to. They could do it tomorrow. They could do it in a week. But why would you go through the charade of Proctor's friend and allow the DA to bring out the messages in the way they did if you were intending to call Proctor? I mean, I think we're all being naive at this point if you think they're going to call him, unless they just make, a last minute change, which they have the right to do. But, they're pretty disciplined. I don't see them zigzagging a trial out of a panic move. And there is no reason to panic. Even if they don't call him, that's fine. I just think they're leaving a lot on the table, and the risk reward of calling him much favors reward than risk, because I don't believe there's anything he can say at this point that's going to harm them, even with Brennan putting words in his mouth in cross-examination.
Don't see it.
No.
Especially if we go back and watch his testimony last time. I mean, you could see what it was. Let's go on to the final witness today, because she's I think she's coming back tomorrow. Dr. Marie Russell. It went for a while today. What did you think of her, especially against Brennan? Because I thought she did a good job. What did you think?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think she's fine. She has more credentials for a medical witness that you'll ever see. I mean, she's got multiple expertise, multiple credentials. She's really an impressive professional. Um, so that no, I mean her credentials. We know that she's the dog bite expert on top of everything else. As far as the cross, which of course is not anywhere near completed, it's interesting for one thing. You got your first sign today where some people wondered, is he going to be different in front of a jury when it comes to crossing an expert than he was? And the answer is yes. Okay. He was not as nasty to Russell in terms of demeanor and approach as he was in the voir dire. There was a little, he's still there. The whole thing about implying about what Scorty Bello was in her report, and she's like, "I agree with that," and he's like, "I'm not asking you that." If that's what she concluded, are you, comfortable with that? And then she very logically and calmly said, "I want to see the report because let me see what she concluded." And then he said, "Well, yeah, forget it. It's not in the report. She said it. She said it." And that he did a lot of damage if the jury's paying attention right then and there. Like, you're not being straight. It's similar to what you did with Burgess, hiding the academic stuff. I don't know why he did that. I don't know why but his demeanor was fine. If he's trying to portray her as some kind of quack who immersed herself in the case, I don't think ultimately that's going to matter. Is it a little interesting? Yeah, sure. If I was cross-examining her, would I spend 30 seconds on, you kind of found this on your own and volunteered for duty? Yeah, I probably would, but you're not getting anywhere. And if you think, the other stuff that he was doing just about you've never testified as a dog bite expert before, that's because no one has, really. I mean, it's not the kind of thing that comes up. All the stuff that he's been doing trying to kind of discredit her generally or give the jury reason to cast doubt on her bona fides, I don't think that went anywhere. But the cross hasn't started, the real cross, meaning he has not yet tried to dig into the meat of the cross, which is, why are these not dog bites? Now, the direct was, classic Bob, right? Thorough, but also as he does, and as you should do, as all good lawyers do, he's using the expert for multiple purposes. Not only is he using the expert to put forth evidence that's going to be helpful to them, he's already laying the foundation to go after the prosecution experts. Okay, you saw about like who's qualified if it's not a medical doctor, and you don't want a veterinarian. You know what that is? I mean, that's for what's his name, Crosby. You saw a lot of stuff like that, and then the best thing he probably did on direct was absolutely nuke Welcher on that cockamamie example of that dead body that he put into evidence in one of his older cases, saying, look, see, not all car accidents have these terrible injuries. And she kind of systematically, because again, she's multifaceted. She's not just a dog bite guy. She's a
doctor, yeah.
Pathologist, emergency room. I mean, she's like
clinician. She's everything. Yeah, she was a
she's
police officer. I mean, she's
Army.
yeah. She's she's like
She's
one of a kind. I mean, that's
she
that's
really
what I
is.
get from her. That's the vibe today too. It's like, yeah, you can say it's unusual but she's one of a kind. There's like nobody else. Like there was a certain point when she was saying, I don't think there's anybody else like me. Basically, it's true.
She really is like the Swiss Army knife of doctors. I mean, you could pull out any one of these things and she can use it. And so I thought that the way she kind of kneecapped Welcher on that, who is not a medical doctor, by the way, I mean, she outranked him. I mean, it's as if you're playing a game like the old, if it was the old game of Stratego or whatever, and he's doing damage with his general, she pulled out the marshal and slipped in there and took that piece from the board and said, I outrank you, basically. So far, I think she's been really good. Um, but we haven't even gotten to the science part of it. And there's no way that I don't think Brendan's going to be able to keep up intellectually. Not that he's not intelligent. That's not what I mean. I mean, substantively. I mean, he's well prepared in this kind of stuff, but if he's trying to talk her out of these being dog bites and this and that, he's not going to do it. That's her opinion, and she's sticking to it. And the bottom line is, they have another dog bite expert. They're going 2 for 1 on this, and then he's going to pull out in rebuttal a veterinarian who is, a veterinarian, as opposed to a medical genius on analyzing human bodies and injuries as opposed to behavior of dogs. So I think that she will be extraordinarily effective and has been. Very nice demeanor. And again, you're also seeing a pattern. Look at the witnesses who are favorable or being called by the defense. Dr. Russell, very pleasant. DeSogra, very pleasant.
Yes.
Welcher, not so much. Dever, who technically was a defense witness, but not really, right? I mean, she's a hostile witness, and she was nasty. Buchanan, he was difficult for the sake of being difficult. Burgess was just a mess. I mean, he lit himself on fire with his problems. So it's just very interesting in terms of who has the better witnesses, and that you haven't even gotten to the arc of people. What they are. They're very professional. So they're doing well.
We're just doing because it's been a little while now. I just wonder if he's got any LinkedIn posts looking for work, or this is just I can't imagine how it's affecting these people. It's like
Well,
we saw this with him, and now the cop today. It just you could
well,
tell this is going to affect their professions possibly.
well, Burgess. I mean, they're not going to do anything with him during the trial. That would
No,
be
that's true.
people would note it. It wouldn't be admissible in court, but people would publicly be going to
Yeah,
town.
shame them.
The reality is this, and this is not even meant to be mean, vindictive, sympathetic. It's just brutal honesty. Burgess is done. I mean,
Yeah,
his credibility is shot, and he's done in this field. No one's ever going to hire him and spend money and pay that firm for that. It's just it. I mean, that's just the reality, and they
the police
why.
officer, because I feel like she's coming close to that too with the false memory stuff, right?
I mean, look, if she's the kind of officer who is a busy officer and is needed frequently to testify, you give very specific testimony to the FBI. You leave that department, which, you have to think maybe she left. She's like, this is a bad place for me to be. I don't know. And then you just come back and you protect another office, another agency, clearly acting under the blue wall, and start talking about false memories and this and that. I mean, that's the kind of police officer that defense attorneys salivate to cross. And then you see her demeanor, how little it takes to get under her skin. Yeah, no, I mean, even if she was going to defend the wall, if she had done it in a more professional manner, I mean, her testimony was unprofessional. It was unbecoming a police officer. That's not good. Oh, I think
Few
you're silent.
questions came in. What's that?
Yeah. No, you're good. I thought you were silenced, but you're not.
No, I'm just thinking. I'm thinking like where I want to go if I want to even follow up on some of the stuff we've been talking about. We'll go to some viewer questions. Smo885 says if Brennan asks Arca about not providing the raw data in their testing because it is classified? Does it open the door to the FBI hiring them? We kind of did talk about that. What do you think about that? I mean, is it
Not
pretty
literally.
obvious that that's going to happen?
I mean, if they say that we were not provided with the data that you claim we didn't use, the risk is, on top of naming the FBI, the risk is that the ARC of people say, look, the third party that hired us could only rely upon the evidence that was provided to them by the prosecution. And if they didn't give it to the feds, well, there I go, right? I just opened the door. If they didn't give it to the agency that shall not be named, then we can't analyze it. But the reality is, because their opinion is based on physics, kinetics, and all those kind of hard physical, mathematical based science, they're going to say it doesn't matter. We don't care. And you've seen this before. I mean, you saw that's the difference between hard science and opinion science, right? The hard scientists, the physics guys, the guys with ARCA who have classic engineering and physics training are saying, I don't need to see the tail light pieces. I don't need to know this. This doesn't match. You saw it with Scorty Bello, who, again, obviously that's hard science, biology, anatomy, forensic pathology. She's saying, yeah, I knew about allegations of a car accident and she admitted it in taillight pieces. I don't care. It doesn't look like that to me. I'm paraphrasing. As opposed to Welcher, who was using soft science, right? He's just like, well, I looked at all these things. I heard some of the testimony. I included this. I heard what Karen said and da 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 da. So I did an experiment going 2 miles an hour. I, greased up some paint, leaned into the car and said, look, science. I mean, so I don't think grilling the ARCA guys anyway about what they looked at and what they didn't is going to make much of a difference, because they're going to say we're using like mathematical equations and whatnot in assessing the damage to the vehicle and also in assessing John O'Keefe's condition.
Some police officer who used to be a Canton police officer. People keep asking about, is she going to be charged with perjury? I think that's doubtful. I mean, you have to really approve it, though. But I have a feeling the feds are like, they must have been
No,
like salivating when she did that in a way, because they're like, now they probably are very suspicious, right? I mean, I have a feeling the
look,
feds are suspicious. But what do you think about that? Is there anything that
no,
could come out of that? What would the
look.
feds do with all that stuff? Even the report that she filed against Jackson.
First of all, let's talk about the feds, right? She didn't commit perjury that's worthwhile for the feds, okay? She told them the truth. And to the extent she now claims she didn't tell them the truth, she claims, well, it was a false memory. Are they going to do anything with her? It's now June of 2025 for what she did in August of 2023. Not really. Jen McCabe lied to the feds, no question. Was it material? Probably. Are they going to do anything about it? No. Kerry Roberts clearly gave false testimony to the state grand jury. Who's prosecuting that? Nobody. So, no, I think you're looking at the great whitewash of 2025. I think when this case is over, presumably with an acquittal, but who knows? That's the end of it. I think it's, we're done here and we're going to all pretend that this was some form of justice, whatever the result was. And, not really.
Not really. Not really at all.
Yeah.
Mrs. K says doors open for Canton dog reports as it came out on Cross with Dr. Russell today after Bev said no to it earlier. What do you think about that?
I,
About Chloe, the dog bite
I
reports.
agree, because Brennan was pressing her very non-specifically on what she reviewed, and he was grilling her, and she gave a natural answer to what she reviewed. That was not inserted as a deliberate attempt to get around, to get evidence in that shouldn't be in. That was a natural, organic response to what he was trying to do. And there is an argument there that, you know what, it would be fair game at this point for the jury to know that, as we're talking about Chloe, there's a Lola here, right? That Chloe was a biter. I mean, I think it's fair game.
Who says that? Winnie or Lola?
Oh, that's Lola. You want to come up?
Lola, hi Lola. Oh, she's wagging. She does want to come.
She's
She
like, where
wants
am I?
Dad.
She said, I'm out of here. Okay. Nope, she's going to her bed. Okay.
Oh.
Under the desk. Yeah.
Yeah, my Charlie's here. If you keep me looking down, it's every once in a while. If he's being quiet, I give him a little treat. He's good.
Yeah.
He's very
The other
good
one,
tonight.
Winnie doesn't come in here. She doesn't like this room for some
No,
reason.
it's just Lola. Yeah.
Yeah.
They all got their little spaces in their rooms.
Yeah.
They all are
They're
peculiar.
both very territorial and have their spots.
That's right.
Yeah.
Dogs definitely have their spots. That's the one like people don't understand with Charlie. Like the one last spot like issue he has is territory. We had the sister-in-law over here last night and or the other night, and he loves her. He's all over her. He's kissing her. He's laying on her on the couch, and then he goes to her bed and she tries to pet him, and he goes,
Oh, yeah. Get away. Yeah.
"Yeah, it's my bed. Don't touch me in the bed." So funny.
Exactly. That's my spot.
Yeah, that's my spot. This is how dogs are. Thank you, Mrs. K. That was a great question. I want to thank Mrs. K for that. That was a very well thought of question tonight. Bring this one up. S. Warren says, did Dever implicate Commissioner Cox?
I mean, look, the way the Massachusetts law is drafted, you have seen other cases which we're not going to talk about, where people have been accused of crimes for very loudly encouraging people to, tell the truth, which is another way of saying do the right thing. For some reason, a very low-ranking rookie officer was hauled into the corner office of the chief, literally the commissioner, the highest-ranking police officer, and for all intents and purposes, the lowest. Cops testify all the time in the Boston Police Department. They don't go see the commissioner about being told, we're good, just go in there and do the right thing. Do I think he should be charged with witness intimidation? No. Is there a theory that there was that implicit message of, what the right thing here is? I think the Massachusetts statute is out of control. I wouldn't charge him with that without direct proof.
I would agree with you. I'm glad you brought that up too, because it's like, so private citizen says it, and it's witness intimidation. Someone with actual real power, the police commissioner, employing a police officer. So she's got not only her career but her paycheck, like everything is on the line here. Because if she loses this job, who knows who's going to hire her next? So
Coercive.
and that's not witness intimidation. We know. We're both saying that's not I don't think what he did that they can define it as witness intimidation, even though it feels like it. But it's funny. It's really funny.
It's coercive. It is the most coercive possibility you could have in that building. Nobody, rookie officer, is summoned to the big office. Case of huge import. They hire her. Again, this is John O'Keefe's department. Hire her knowing that she was a Canton police officer who left right after. Presumably, they're fully aware that she spoke to the FBI, said things that, are harmful to the prosecution. And now facts matter. The defense wants to call her, which is a cue to the commissioner. Oh shit, why? And all you're told is, we got you. You just go in there and you do the right thing. That is what else? I mean, look, and I talked about this.
Private citizen says it, we get in trouble. When the commissioner says it, no problem.
Most police misconduct, corruption, prosecutorial misconduct, it doesn't exist like you see on TV in an old dark bar where somebody slides a manila envelope across the table and somebody slides something else, or hiding in an alley, okay? And having a lot of experience with police and prosecutorial misconduct, it happens wink and nod, tacit agreements, understandings, words not spoken, coercive environments, loyalty to the crown in these ways. And there is simply no reason whatsoever for this officer to have been summoned to the corner office for that conversation and then get you do the right thing. Because when you're a rookie police officer coming from the Canton Police who's about to give testimony harmful to the prosecution against in favor of the one charged with killing our officer, and the commissioner just says, I know they want you from the defense, but you don't worry, you just do the right thing. If you don't think that's coercive or a message, I don't know what to say to you. That's a lot more coercive than saying I was threatened by Alan Jackson to be charged with perjury.
A lot more threatening. A lot, because he's the boss. He is the boss, and you just left Canton Police, like you said. It's like your resume is not looking too good right now.
We took you from the department that's under attack. You left right after this happened. You have information that the defense, not the prosecution, wants. As John O'Keefe's department, we hire you. You're going to give or get called as a witness to give testimony that could harm the case against him. And you get summoned to the corner office and are told, as a rookie cop, you go down there and you do the right thing. How do you think that rookie cop is taking that? I mean, it's obvious. Are the words said? No. But is the message sent loud and clear?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Here's another one. Probably the last question before we let you go tonight. Mark, do you think the jury instructions will be an issue again?
I mean, they're going to fight over certain jury instructions. So like the missing witness charge and things like that. I would hope not. I mean, the reality is most jury instructions are what they call pattern jury instructions. They're boilerplate. They come right out of, the pattern jury instructions that each state has. And you just say, we want this, this, and this. You argue, and the judge decides. I mean, there really shouldn't be a controversy in the actual instructions given, certainly not the text of the instructions, but they could fight over some of this stuff, like the missing witness charge. But it's, we'll have to wait and see, because you don't determine what the jury's going to be instructed until the case is over and it's time for summation.
A lot to see here. What are your final thoughts tonight? Like, do you have anything that we didn't talk about, or what you're looking forward to this week? I know Lucky Loughran might be on the stand tomorrow.
That'll be interesting. I don't think it's going to get more interesting than what you saw with Dever. To me, that was far and away the most interesting part of the trial to watch, just from the outside. So I don't think you'll ever see that again. But assuming they finish up with Russell, who I think will be effective, I think Loughran ought to be effective. No reason he wouldn't be. He's just going to say, I didn't see anything and I should have. And I'm aware of the flagpole. I'm aware of the fire hydrant, and I need to be careful. And I'm driving Frankenstein, right? And it lights up the whole yard. I mean, they're going to try to cross-examine him about his timeline. But the reality is, once he makes the first pass down Fairview, and it's after 1232, and if he says, I'm telling you there's no body there, then you're done. Because according to the DA theory, there has to be a body lying on the lawn and in the accumulating snow shortly thereafter, from the minute he got hit until he was found at 6 whatever the next morning. So, yeah, I think he's another witness that's just going to be harmful to them. He's earnest. He knows the Alberts. He's not antagonistic to them. He's not a friend, but he worked for one of them. and he's just going to say, look, he's like the ultimate Canton townie. I mean, literally. And he's driving the Franken truck, and he's going to say no body. I mean, I don't know what you're supposed to do with that if you're the prosecution. That's not good.
I thank you for being here. It's a quick. I love doing. This was great. We did the quick hour. We don't have to keep you for the full 2-3 hours like we usually do. I saw you did like a 4-hour show one night with Runkle.
Yeah, no, he's a talker. Yeah, that was fun. We just kind of were shooting the shit, and it just goes on, and it could have gone on another 3 hours, but I said I need to go to bed. I mean, I just.
Yeah.
But
We've done that. I mean, we've had some late shows here
yeah,
with you.
yeah,
It's probably
it was,
2.5-3 hours going. Some of them.
yeah, no, it was fun though. He's very witty. He's funny. He's charismatic. He's got that whole like out in the woods of Canada vibe going. He's got the looks like a little bourbon going or whiskey. As
He's got dogs too. He's got dogs.
Dog guy. You picture he's out there. He's after it's over. He's going to go out there and go shooting for some big game and talk about
Flamethrowers. Yeah.
Talk about moose. No, I enjoyed it. He's a lot of fun to talk to. And on top of all of that, really, really brilliant lawyer. So, I mean, he's really fun in this bizarre world of YouTube or whatever to talk to. He's really.
I love him.
Yeah,
he's been on here once, and my mods like the ladies in the chat love Runkle. Yeah, they're like
really fun to talk to.
Yeah.
So I'm sure we'll do it again.
Awesome. I want to thank you, Attorney Bederow. We could bring up Mazza and Mizzy next. We're going to talk more about what's going on the ground more. I think Mazza might have been outside today at court, and Mizzy, there's like a protest going on tomorrow, standout. So yeah, do you want to say hi to Mazza real quick?
Yeah, no, I don't mind sticking around for a little bit to say hello.
All right. Mazza, what's up, brother?
How you guys doing?
How are you?
I never made it to Dedham today. I never made it out. I had some things come up, and basically it was just pretty exhausted from the weekend, so I never made it up to Dedham like I planned. I was like, I don't think I'm going to make it out today as badly as I wanted to, but good to see you guys. Mark, thanks for staying on to say hello, sir. Good to see you.
You were a little busy, a little hungover from celebrating the Pacers' big win.
I can't believe that. You don't even drink. You don't drink at all.
I don't.
You have extra wings for that, though? Do you like
I had wings over the weekend.
Have...
I broke a 4-week stint of no chicken wings. 4 weeks.
No
of no
way. You were abstaining?
Wings. I went that far. Yeah. Yeah.
I
was eating a lot of bad things.
Why? Why did this new turn 4 weeks off of chicken wings?
I was going for other things like chicken tenders and all that stuff lately. It's a whole thing. It's a whole thing, Mike.
You'd enjoy if you want entertainment. These are the days for about a week. You really should read like the New York Post sports section. Mm-hmm. Who do you think they're blaming for their just flame out?
Probably their coach,
Karl Towns.
Fans?
Really?
Fans? Who?
Yeah,
Jesus. Towns
he doesn't play defense. He's soft. He doesn't rotate. He all season. Yeah, no, he's become the problem child for the Knicks.
Scapegoat. So, yeah, I mean, him and Towns and Robinson did a great job against the bigs for the Celtics in the previous series, and New York almost burned the city down over a second-round victory, which was quite shocking.
Well,
and ever since it happened, they've shit the bed. So
right.
That's why I like blame the fans.
Right.
I could have guarded Porzingis in that series, and that's. Slight height difference there.
Right.
Actually, you're a big guy. You could have gone in there. I mean, he was that bad. So I don't know. We made them look a little more better than as it turns out they were. But
right. Oh, absolutely. It was too bad for the Celtics because I never in my life would have ever imagined that Halliburton would ever lead it. And they got a pretty solid. They're like the 2019 Raptors. They're kind of deceiving with Pascal Siakam, Miles Turner, a few other players they got on that roster. One of our own former Celtics, in fact, Naismith, is on that roster, and they're deceivingly good, but it's a fresh buzz. I buzzed my head this evening.
Yeah, no, awesome. Naismith turned out to be a very good player, but they got Brogdon, which led to Holiday, so you can't complain. He's got a great career, but you don't win without Holiday. So
right
last year, but
Yeah, absolutely. If you're going to celebrate beating the Celtics like that, you better go on to win the NBA championship. Because I thought on paper the Knicks had the better roster. I was fairly confident it was going to be Knicks and Thunder in the finals, and now all of a sudden I think the Thunder are going to end up pulling it out. But I don't want to underestimate these Pacers. They seem to be shocking the world right now.
They're really well coached. Carlisle, the old bench warming Celtic is really. I mean, he is like under the radar. Could be the best coach in the league.
Yeah, sure. No, I agree. He's been around the sport for a long, long time, and he's done a great job. I think that the East has been a shock this year. The Cavs and Celtics seem to be the clear favorites to be in the Eastern Conference Finals. One of those two almost winning it with almost 100% certainty. Neither does. The Knicks are in there. I'm thinking, okay, the Knicks are going to beat up on the Pacers, but then, their deceiving front court of Miles Turner and Pascal Siakam. People forget Siakam was on the Raptors 6 years ago when they won it all. And their front court was deceiving, And all of a sudden the Knicks, they are. They absolutely are. It's just, you think about getting all this talent on teams, and Halliburton wouldn't be a top 3 guy on the Heat roster 10 years ago, Bosh and Wade. Yeah, he's good, though. He is good. He's a little bit like Durant, a little bit like Tatum.
Yeah.
As a Reggie Miller fan, though, I was a big Reggie Miller fan when I was a kid, primarily because I could not stand Spike Lee. I was a kid, and I'm watching this guy, Reggie Miller, just torch New York City. And this guy, Spike Lee, I couldn't stand, because when I grew up, we always had these kids in school that could not play basketball at all. But yet they're shooting their mouth off. And, man, I'm like, you're not even on the court. Nobody even plays you, and you're running your mouth. Like, I see a guy like Spike Lee, and that's why I couldn't stand Spike Lee, because he was running his mouth. I'm like, Spike, you're not in the NBA. You're not.
Didn't you ever do a pickup game against one of them, though, and then just like crush them and then feel bad for them?
I had a story a couple of years ago, actually. I had a kid. It was just before I turned 40. I had a kid. I was out shooting around one Saturday, and some high school kid started with me, and it was like him and like 10 of his young buddies, and like most of his buddies hated him, and they were like, he was talking smack. So he walks up to me and he's like, I can beat you. I don't care if you're 6'5". I'm like, oh boy, here we go. I'm like, I just want to shoot around, guys. So like all his friends are like, beat him. We're sick and tired of him running his mouth. So we played one-on-one, me and this kid. I won 11-0. He had the ball first.
Like that on the high school wrestling team. He was like the transplant. He was like, I'm going to take your spot.
Yeah.
He's talking a lot of trash. The first day of practice, I said, Coach, let me wrestle him for like 5 minutes.
Yeah.
After that, the coach wouldn't let me wrestle him anymore because it was bad.
Right. Yeah. I have a rule when I play a one-on-one, when it's a challenge. If I challenge you to one-on-one, you get the ball first. If you challenge me to one-on-one, you get the ball first. I never take the ball first because I figure this: if you're going to get in a confrontation with somebody and you're so confident that you can beat them, then you don't need to shoot for who gets the ball first. So this kid would challenge me to one-on-one, and then he goes, we'll shoot for ball. I go, there is no shooting for the ball. You've challenged me. You're confident that you can beat me. You can have the ball first. So it was winner's ball. He shot once. I blocked him. I then scored 11 straight on him, and it was game over in minutes. And all his friends were
your eye tiger. No
people shouldn't talk so much. Yeah.
Right.
People talk too much trash when they can't back it up.
Yeah.
I'm going to bring up Mizzy real quick, and then we're going to say bye to Bederow. Mizzy, welcome back to the Young Jerks. How you doing?
Good. How are you?
How are you?
Doing awesome.
I'm pretty good. How is everybody enjoying this trial? Today was a
It's like deja vu that you didn't want.
Yeah, definitely.
Oh, it was entertaining today, wasn't it, Mizzy? Oh, just Kelly Dever was the gift that keeps on giving for the defense today, I'll tell you.
Yeah, it was just something today.
I mean, the fact that she got up there and implicated the commish of corruption, like in everybody all over Twitter, the other side is like, oh, she schooled Jackson. I'm like, were you guys not listening? Were you guys not hearing? She spoke to the FBI. Then she took it back after the commissioner spoke to her. Come on.
Wicked sauce.
Especially in a case that we're all talking about corruption.
Yeah, we were talking about that earlier. It really played into the defense theory that there's, strange behavior by the police, and here comes this, officer who is making a hostage video on the witness stand, and which could have been more effective if she looked more upset, like the first guy who didn't want to be there, but he was polite, he was credible, he was professional. And she, though, was nasty.
Oh yeah.
And she
Yeah.
came in ready to fight and to score points, and she did them no favors. That's for
No.
sure. She did not help the prosecution if that was the goal of her exercise.
And she was absolutely. I thought, for my personal opinion, it was peak Alan Jackson. This is Alan Jackson at his absolute best today. He's always been, for the most part, at his absolute best, but it was just pure. The back and forth between him and her was absolutely something to watch. Now, what's interesting was the way he presented his direct, not to be confused with direct examination, because it sure felt like a cross examination to some degree, because it certainly didn't feel like a typical witness that the defense would call. But in this case, they brought her on as a witness for themselves, direct examination, and he walked all over her left and right, to the point where you had someone that was trying to play this whole, I don't know why I'm here. I have no clue why I would be called. You have no clue why you're here. Not at all. It was kind of like one of those sting operations where the police arrest someone. And they're like, you have no clue why we're arresting you. And then, well, here's the tape of what you were doing. And now, it was kind of like that with her on the stand today, where she's saying, well, I don't know why I'm on the stand. I don't know why I'm being called. At the same time, she was one of the most defensive witnesses that we have seen in this trial or the first trial. I'm sitting there and I'm like, this is unbelievable. It was very believable, but I'm like, this is absolutely incredible to watch the way she is acting, because this is right before the jury. We saw a few of Aiden's tweets today that said that it was pretty much everybody in the gallery the lights were on watching this today. But it was insane, her behavior, and she was extremely defensive. And my personal opinion of her, this is just my opinion, this is the perception I get, is that at some point in that Canton Police Department, she was someone who probably had little involvement from the onset, who became involved, and they had tasks for her to do, and she carried them out, and she had no clue. Probably a few other officers, probably the same thing. They had little involvement. They did a couple little errands here and there, probably knew what the bigger story was at the end of it, and then their level of involvement was exploded as the story exploded. And now the last place she ever wants to be is on this stand answering these questions, because she feels like she doesn't have to be here. But at the same time, she was so defensive that it does nothing but convince anybody with a discerning mind that there's something up here, because the fix is in. You look at the witnesses, Dr. Murray Russell, Segorga, if I said his name right, they were very calm on the stand, not her. Very on edge, very defensive, and it tells a big story.
Yeah, that, and I thought that Judge Bev was going to have to smack her down, because there was one instance when Bev asked her a question and she looked at the judge like, who you talking to? Like, I was like, oh no, she didn't. I was like, I thought Bev was going to have to light her up.
Yeah.
Her behavior was just unbecoming of a police officer. And it's like, it kind of like goes back to Yuri's testimony. You're on the stand as a witness in the murder of a police officer, a fellow Boston police officer. I understand you don't want to be there, but you don't have to get up and act like an asshat.
What I thought too that I took away from today was that Hank Brennan had asked a question of her, have you and I ever spoken before? And there's a little bit of a momentary hesitation there. And she goes, no, you and I have never spoken. And I actually had someone suggest to me that I just got the impression, this is just my opinion, that's either Hank, and even if it's not Hank, somebody from his office must have talked to her. They must have had some kind of a discussion. I don't know, Mark, what your perception was, but I just felt like a few of the answers she gave were felt a little prep to me.
Yeah, I don't know if she was telling the truth or not, but just in the natural logic of a trial, if she were subpoenaed, it's hard for me to believe that she would not notify the prosecution. I mean, she's a Boston police officer from John O'Keefe's department who is being subpoenaed ostensibly to give testimony harmful to the case against the alleged murderer of John O'Keefe. So you'd have to think that she would make it very clear publicly, both at work and in her private life, I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this. I'm not the bad guy. I'm not going to help them. You would think the O'Keefes would know this. You'd think the Boston Police Department would know this. You'd think the DA would know this. So it's hard for me to believe that when she showed up and she was on the defense witness list. Another reason why wouldn't they call her and just say, what's going on here? Don't forget, they get the federal material too. They know what she told the FBI. I find it virtually impossible to believe that there was no contact whatsoever between her and somebody, whether it's Brennan or not, whether it's another prosecutor, whether it's Tully, who seems to be the one who's, the welcoming committee, the Walmart greeter of the DA's office, or anyone else. It's just impossible for me to believe that the DA came in agnostic as to what was going to happen with her today. I don't believe that.
Yeah.
That was one of my one. There was 2 questions I wish the AJ had asked her. I can't remember the other one, but did you speak to Tully? Because they were saying, did you speak to anybody in the DA's office?
Right.
And she could have, that could have been like, well, I'm not lying by not saying or Massachusetts State Police. So I that was one of the questions I wished she was asked.
Yeah, they could have clarified that for sure, because it depends on what your definition of is as to whether Tully is in the DA's office, because it speaks for itself. Yeah.
Yep. Definitely.
Attorney Bederow, I appreciate you staying
Yeah,
extra.
thanks for having me, and have fun.
Yeah.
Good seeing you.
Good to see
Okay.
you, Mark.
We'll talk
Take
to
care,
you soon, and we really appreciate you here. You've answered
care.
so many questions tonight. Thank you.
Okay, take care.
Take care, Mark.
Mr. Bederow is gone. I really it's always an honor to have him on the show and have him answer all the questions tonight.
I should have said it before he left. I'm honored to be invited to M Squared.
That's where we get a new name.
Yes. So let's talk about you doing a standout tomorrow.
It's actually not tomorrow. It's on June 12th.
I thought it was tomorrow. Why did I think it was tomorrow?
No, June 12th. It's a Thursday, and
so I saw. Yeah, I saw. Okay, so it's Thursday. I don't know why I thought it was tomorrow. Oh, I'm looking at it right here. Thursday, June 12th. Read the flyer, Mike. Read the flyer, Mike.
No
I think I was in
worries.
conversation with somebody, and they were. I think they told me, or maybe I misheard it.
Yeah.
That it was this Tuesday, and never really looked at the flyer that you sent me. That I have. I'm going to add it to the stage actually.
So on June 12th, we're doing a Stronger Together standout. It's basically, free Karen Reed, justice for Sandra Birchmore, and just en route. And we also honor Enrique too, because he is the cherry on top of the Massachusetts State Police, of what they've done. And it's 2 to 4 at Michael Morrissey's office. So if you're available to get down there, please come. We're billing it as Michael Morrissey, please resign. I'm saying it nicely right now. I won't be that day. Because of everything that he's done as a district attorney over the last few years. When it comes to the case means the most to me. I mean, obviously Karen Reed means a lot to me too, but just, Matthew Farrell has been charged by the feds. So it's like he was dereliction in his duties when it came to Sandra's case. We all see that what's going on in Karen's case, and it dishonors John. And then the craziness that happened with Just en Route. So please come down. It's 2 to 4. We might extend it to 5, but as of right now, it's 2 to 4. And it's at 45 Shawmut Road in Canton.
Right off the highway, right off of 128.
Yes.
Which I just, drove by. It's right near the Topgolf, kind of, except on the opposite side. Yeah.
Yes. And also, it's a half day that day, so the trial will be over probably.
Oh,
around
it is.
1:30.
See, that's even better. See, that's what
That
I was
works.
worried about. So it's a half day on June 12th, so people can go after. That's perfect. I'm hoping my. See, I was worried because I thought it was tomorrow for some reason, and I was planning on going tomorrow, and then I realized I can't go tomorrow. I can't go to court tomorrow, but maybe on Thursday or Friday. But it's a following week, which is even better.
Next Thursday, yes.
I hope we can get everyone on.
Yeah, so come down, bring your signs. We'll have a few speakers, not a long, not a lot of speakers, just some really strong speakers that get up there and put the screws to Michael Morrissey. And we'll do we always do a march around the building, and you'll be able to meet people that you've talked to online. So don't be nervous if you've never been to a standout. Come down, you'll meet some people. You could even go to court for some of the day and then come over and stand with us. That's what I'm going to be doing. I'm going to go to court in the early afternoon or late morning, and then I'll go over to help set up. So should be a good time.
Random comment. I want to know what the hell they're talking about. Mike, you are not involved here. What does that mean? Can you explain yourself, Elizabeth?
Yeah.
When you say stuff about the host, you should be a little more specific so we know what you're talking about.
Right. Involved in the conversation, involved in the standout, involved in scheduling.
Yeah, I don't know. Or maybe not in the conversation tonight. You don't think I'm laying back too much? I don't know. What is it? You tell me.
Yeah.
Some people are mad Mark left. This was the schedule. I had Mizzy and Mazza booked first, and then basically with Mark. I don't think he's wants to be talking about a protest when he's got clients in front of Norfolk County. I don't think it's appropriate, so that's why we're kind of segmenting tonight. And he's really good on the court stuff, which I think we got to pretty quickly in a good hour. And he's done so many shows lately. I feel like sometimes we abuse his time. Let's put it that way. Like all of us, we don't need Mark for 2.5 hours tonight. He gave us everything in 1 hour. It was actually a little more than 1 hour. It was more 50 minutes. I'm sorry, 70 minutes, and it was perfect. So you'll see him probably tomorrow night on either here or another channel. He's on every night. So,
or you can just.
And I also want to give Mazza some time too, because every time I have if Mark's here and Mazza's here, then people I swear to God, even when I talk too much, they get mad when we talk when they just want to hear Mark. So we got the Mark segment. Now I want to have some Mazza. I want to have some Mazza in here too. And so Mazza, what's going on? Because I feel like you are the heart of the movement too, the Karen Reed movement. Like so many people, you know what's going on. There's been a lot going on with boots on the ground, and just even with what's going on in the buffer zone. Yeah. And just what do you think? What do you want to talk about tonight, Mazza?
Well, I just first want to say, if you want Mark Bederow back, just rewind the show to the beginning. When I was a kid, when I watched E.T. when I was a kid, I had separation anxiety when E.T. got on that ship and went back to outer space. And my mom used to tell me when I was a kid, if I miss E.T. so much and she can rewind the tape and I can watch the movie from the beginning again, that's how I got through it. So if you're missing Mark,
someone just said, can you have Mark on 24/7, please? I'm going to say, we have a playlist. You can watch him for like the next 2 weeks on the playlist. Just keep it going. Like we have probably 70 episodes there. It's awesome.
That's awesome. No, but Mark's the man. He's great. Now, he's been giving us a lot of time. We're so fortunate as Karen Reed supporters and supporters of many other causes, as pictured on the screen here, which is important to stand out for Just En Route, Sandra Birchmore, Enrique Delgado Garcia, John O'Keefe, Karen Reed, and others. But we're fortunate to have attorneys such as Mark Bederow and Nan Gallagher and Melanie Little and so many others that can lend their expertise and experiences in the field of being an attorney to help us better understand what's going on in courts. Definitely, Mark is awesome, as well as all of them, and all the attorneys, I should say, and we appreciate their efforts and their time as always. So for me, I am, I'm telling you, this is, I'm really getting excited right now for this case, because once they kind of flip sides on who directs and who calls their own witnesses, it takes on a whole new level now, which is basically the defense controls the ball right now for the rest of this trial by calling witnesses. And basically, they control how much longer this takes. Walking out of court last week, Karen Reed told the media that she expects that the defense estimates a week and a half to 2 weeks of calling witnesses, which basically brings it to the end of next week as potentially being roughly around the time frame where this whole thing can end. And then jury deliberation begins. And realistically, I think one thing you realize is once the formal trial ends and jury deliberation begins, it just takes on a whole new feel. For anybody that was out there last year, Mike, this was actually the day you and I had met last year, was the last day of trial, which was also the first day of jury deliberation. It was an environment out there unlike anything that we had seen during that particular trial, because that's basically, when the playoffs begin in terms of a trial, it's basically, the game has been played, or it's going overtime, or it's played, whatever you want to say. But at this particular point, once jury deliberation begins, that's when it gets so real, because everything that needs to be said is behind us at this point. And it's going by quick. It's crazy to think how fast this trial has gone by. It seems that just yesterday it was April and they were selecting the jury and the first witnesses were coming on. Now all of a sudden, here we are. It's June 2nd. And we talked about June 12th and the standout outside Michael Morris's office. That will be here before we know it. And right around that same time, this trial could be wrapping up. And I'm most curious to see how long it's going to take this jury to deliberate this time. Is it going to be shorter? Is it going to be a situation where Tui Rodriguez needs to be read? Are they going to be hung again? Is it going to be declared a mistrial? Is the fix in? Are they after Karen Read to try to force her financially into a third trial? These are the things I wonder. Or will we finally get what we all want, which is Karen Read's innocence, and never having to see some of these people's faces in that courtroom on our televisions or YouTube or phones or whatever again, as far as this matter is concerned. Because the number one thing I want right now is for Karen Read to be able to walk out of there in a couple weeks and basically stand at the top of those stairs, similar to how she stood at the top of those stairs and basically announced they couldn't arrest her, and just have her stand at the top of that and say, this time they couldn't arrest me last year. They couldn't put me behind bars this year. And they're not sending me to behind bars this time, because now I'm free and there is no third trial. Because it was a lot of work for her and her defense team to try to fight every little step of the way to prevent a second trial, to get the first and third charges dropped, even with witnesses, not witnesses, jury members, actual jury members who had actually stated that Karen Read was acquitted on at least 2 of the 3 charges. And for these charges to still be a part of this trial is an absolute joke. Even though I don't want to accept the reality that the second trial has gone on, what I don't accept is that the first and third charges are still a part of this trial when they should have been kicked to the curb. She should have been acquitted of those 2 charges. And this trial should have strictly been about count 2 only. It's ridiculous that this has gone on the way it's gone on for so long, especially when you look at today and what happened with Kelly Dever on that stand. Yet another witness, whether for the defense or the Commonwealth, that was on edge, that was defensive, that was getting in an argument with Alan Jackson, and was being absolutely ridiculous. And why is it that you have so many people that are witnesses, true witnesses for the defense, that have favorability towards Karen Read's innocence, that are non-argumentative? But you have a prosecutor like Hank Brennan who tries to discredit someone like Dr. Marie Russell, who has boundless credentials, not just a lot of credentials, but her credentials are literally boundless. Not only is she a medical expert, she knows a lot about animal attacks. She knows a lot about what it's like to work in LA County. She knows a lot about what it's like to be a police officer. You have witnesses with credentials just like her, and even people like them. The prosecution wants to question their credentials and whether or not they could qualify as a witness for this. But again, there's nothing they can do. They just want to make it seem like, oh, you don't know about this. You don't know about that. You don't know about this. And Dr. Marie Russell's just cutting through all his questions like she has a warm knife in her hands, and it's butter. Because it's obvious when you look at those wounds again today in court. There is, number one, taillight does not have teeth. It does not have knives. It does not have sharp weapons. Dog claws, dog teeth do. And like we saw in that reenactment last week by Welcher, there was no time at 2 miles per hour for that arm to still be there and ever suffer any kind of shattering of that taillight that would have wounded the arm. There was no time for any of that. And at 24 miles an hour, 12 times that speed, that arm would have been out of there even quicker. And when you look at today and you look at that arm, you look at it and you can literally see the teeth. In my opinion, it's teeth and claws. I will not jump off that argument. I look at the outsides of both of the high and low parts of the arm are to be claws, and the inside around the elbows, teeth. That's always been my theory. And there's nothing to refute that. It's clearly an animal attack, and that's the bottom line. And I pray at the end of the day that this jury sees this, because that's at the end of the day what matters the most. A lot of us here are free Karen Reed. We're free Karen Reed because what we see leads us to believe that she's innocent. But there is a sad state of affairs in reality where there are actually, believe it or not, people out there that believe Karen Reed's committed this crime. And they're out there, and whether they're rocking blue shirts or they're running their own YouTube shows against us or whatever it is, they have their belief system. But it's scary to me that there's actually people out there that truly believe Karen Reed's guilty, when it is so blatantly obvious when you look at John O'Keefe's arm alone that it is a dog attack. There is no way taillight. I mean, someone could have taken taillight and shattered it, then weaponized it and stabbed somebody in the arm with taillight, and it would never make any wounds similar to what you see on John O'Keefe's arms. It's clearly an animal attack. And I pray that this jury is seeing all that, because last year, a lot of us, including myself, were like, the jury's going to see what we see. The jury's going to reach a verdict, and they're going to say not guilty, and that's it. And then what we saw was this, a hung jury. They were really convinced about count 1 and count 3, but they got hung up on count 2, which was a problem for me and was a problem for many others. And that was the real sad part, because it allowed this judge to interpret it however she wanted to interpret it, and allowed her to force a second trial that was ironclad, even at the level of the Supreme Court in the state of Massachusetts. And this farce was allowed to continue at the highest level. And that is an absolute problem for me. And I'm absolutely going to be sick and disgusted if this trial ends the same way last year ended. Once was too much. This time is far too much. And I am not going to sit here and be quiet if they try to screw this woman over again and screw the taxpayers over in this state again. It's unacceptable. We will not tolerate it. And it starts with things like Mizzy. Mizzy and her plan, which is to go outside the DA's office and start the protest and start the petition and start to raise awareness to people in this state, because people that are not aware of what's going on right now really need to wake up. Because I'm going to tell you right now, in 2 more weeks, if they do to Karen Reed what they've already done a second time, they do it a second time after they've already done it a first time, it's a big problem. If you think that it's already a charade now, in 2 weeks, if they pull this again, unbelievable. I will tell you that much. It will be unbelievable, because it shows you once again, it reminds you once again that corruption has no bounds and that they'll go as far. Now, in terms of my particular opinion, I am expecting Karen Reed to get acquitted this time. I do believe that she's going to walk out of there an innocent and free woman. But I also thought the same thing last year, to remain objective and keep myself balanced. I thought the same thing last year, and nobody ever could have predicted what they did. But I'll tell you right now, I pray that this jury sees what we see. I pray that this jury is unanimous in their decision-making and does not leave it in the hands of this judge who forced all of us, Karen Reed most specifically, down this rabbit hole again. And so prayers out to Karen, prayers to her family, and everybody's been doing the right thing, holding signs, donating money. My show, LTL show, many other shows have raised a lot of money for Karen over the past months. Many people have donated a lot of money. Over $1 million on that website for Karen Reed's Defense Fund has been raised to this day. So there's my rant for now. I'm going to defer back to Mike and Mizzy to do some talking here. I don't want to take over the whole show, but I had some things I needed to say and get off my chest tonight. So that's that.
Why we have you here, Mazza? Uncle Frito made a great comment here, which I was thinking about this today, actually, too. He said, do either of you know the story of Michael Cox, Boston Police Department commissioners rise to power, talk about thick blue line? The irony, because if people don't know, I'm going to actually read this right from the Christian Science Monitor. I'm asking Mizzy and Mazza, do you know about this? Do you know what happened to him?
Yeah,
You do. Okay.
I heard about it.
Mazza, do you?
I'm vague on it. I'm vague on it. Yeah.
A lot of people don't. Here it is. While on duty as a plainclothes police officer with the Boston Police Department in 1995, Mr. Cox, who was black, was mistaken for a gang member by a group of fellow officers chasing a suspect. He was thrown to the ground and brutally beaten. And when the officers realized their mistake, they left him lying seriously injured in the icy January night. He almost died. It was like I think he broke his jaw. Like he was really, like his eye or something. Like they really messed this guy up. Like he he was out for a while. Like this was, a major deal what happened, and it sounds familiar, doesn't it? Like what everyone thinks happened to John.
Yeah.
It's like, remove the racial component from it, but it's very similar where, oh shit, what do we do? And you would think that somebody like him would be a little more staying out of this. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. You know what I think is sad about that part of, not, I mean, his story, but also like what happened on the stand today is that even more they proved the Boston cop on the lawn was less important than the Boston cop in the house. And I hope John O'Keefe's family realizes that. They don't give a crap about John. Boston PD, Canton PD, or the Massachusetts State Police or Norfolk DA's office. They don't give two craps about John because the Boston cop in the house was more important than him or had more on, a lot on other people. Could say it that way too.
Probably more powerful, higher rank, more
Yeah.
more years in, knows more people, knows, yeah.
And people excuse me, people think the thin blue line, oh, that's not a thing, they're just, they all work together. No, it's a thing. It's a thing. They protect each other before rational things, before, things that you wouldn't think, like you would, Cox's situation, when they found out that he was a police officer, you would have thought that they would have been like, oh, we messed up, and I've always also thought about this of like, because sometimes when you try to work out the scenario of what happened in that house, like that was he a neurosurgeon? He said that he could have fallen and he could have survived. Well, if John could have survived, he could have survived for them. And everything that they're saying about Karen in this instance, they could have called the police and they could have called the ambulance to save him, but they didn't. And I said this on my show, when it comes to the FBI, I don't know how they can't go after this group of people since they say they know that Karen didn't do this, like they went after Matthew Farwell. The moment they decided to put John on the lawn, the moment they decided not to call an ambulance, the moment they decided to let John die, they murdered a witness against them. Because John was a witness to his beating, a witness to whatever happened. The dog attack, everything that happened. So I know, obviously, Sandra's story is way different. But I keep thinking that. Why can't the FBI go after them like that? Because they take it very serious about people who murder witnesses. And the second they put John on the lawn, they could have called an ambulance. And if they all stuck together like they did, like they have been, they could have been like, this guy's lying. He fell down the stairs. Or he came in and started swinging on Higgins and they got into a brawl and fell down the stairs. Or whatever scenario they tried to come up with. They could have done that, but they didn't. They didn't try to save him and they put him on the lawn. And at that moment, they murdered a witness against them. So I wonder if, that would have been a good question to ask Bederow, but I wonder, and I think about it all the time.
Comment tonight. What if Higgins and John O'Keefe agreed to fight at 34 Fairview? Then why not tell the truth? Why not just tell that? Why? If that was the case and something bad happened, why not just own up to it?
They could have even.
There's so many ifs. I don't even like to talk like this.
No,
with the theories
I agree.
And all this.
They could have
Even like with what you're
Ron.
saying tonight, Mizzy. I don't even like to go there. Like I feel like people go a little too far because I can't prove it. Like I know,
I can't prove it either.
Aiden goes there. He thinks he has the proof. for me, I know how I feel, but that's different than concluding. You know what I mean? To say I know exactly what happened. I still don't know. There could have been 8 million things that happened here. I know that people get mad when that type of thing gets brought up because everyone thinks they know exactly what happened. But I mean, I think I know what I obviously think happened. But again, when we're in this situation, I'm like I said, I'm facing a lawsuit right now
Yeah.
over shit that's stupid.
Yeah.
So this is
For me,
much
yeah.
more serious. So I just,
I have
I
no
always
idea
say
what
that to a lot of
happened to him.
people.
I have no
Yeah.
idea what it was, but the act of them putting him on the lawn, that's what I'm talking about. Just that act.
Let's put this one out. How much of a witness's character plays a part in the jury's opinion? Thanks for a great service. It is so interesting. Well, they are instructed. If you find any part of their testimony to be not honest, you're supposed to, just discredit all their testimony and not consider anything that they say as truthful. So I think that makes a big difference, character, especially if you find them not being truthful on the stand. What do you got? What do you both think on that?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's subjected to the juror themselves. What they think, how they see things. I mean, like for example, like we're not officially jury members in the Karen Reed case, obviously, but we all have opinions, and we base that based on our individual belief systems. We all probably come from different ways of reaching that conclusion, but we got there, and it's similar to a jury. There's always the human factor in it, and I always question how much a judge can give instructions on how to. When they say jury disregard this, well, they still heard it. It's like they say in media. When you say no comment is a comment. My college professor used to tell me that in media class when I was in college. No comment is a comment. So even though they might say, jurors, you strike that from the record, you didn't hear that, or don't pay attention to that, that doesn't mean that that's still not at the end of the day curbing a juror's decision, or they're not, their eyes are not shielded from seeing what they see if they so choose to believe it, whether that's favorable for or against the person that's being tried. So I think that the jury can always, to some degree, establish their own opinion. And we saw that last year in last year's trial. They just wanted to kind of end it and be done with it. And Tui Rodriguez's instructions were ultimately read to them, and they were forced to come to some kind of a conclusion. So, yeah, it's interesting. But getting back to what happened at 34 Fairview that night, all as I can say is this: no matter what anybody's theory is on this show or out there, one thing is for sure: whatever happened was so bad that it looks like they were left with no choice but to do what they did. You know what I'm saying? So that's kind of how I look at it at the end of the day. It was a very severe situation, and they made the decision they made, and John was placed in the situation he was placed in. And unfortunately, Karen Reed was the essentially, like they say, the patsy in all of this, that would basically have it pinned on the girl. And it's really too bad. And I guess with life, the only way to get through something like this is to be like Karen Reed, which is to fight your way through it and stand tall. And she looked like a general in court today at times, quite honestly, when she was whispering in her Alan Jackson's ear about a couple of things that looks like she was suggesting when he was direct examining Kelly Dever. So that was definitely notable to me. But Karen looks ready for victory here. It's winning time for her right now, and this is where their defense really has to close this thing up. And quite frankly, I think they're doing a fantastic job. But again, getting back to the jury, we saw how great the defense. Have no illusions. The defense definitely defeated the prosecution last year too. So it's all resting in the hands of the jury. And I recall last year a lot of people on X, especially, saying, "I'm very afraid of what this jury is going to do." And sure enough, it was not conclusive, and you saw what the judge did. So,
yeah,
I
think one of the things that I'm glad that a perception wise that they're seeing different from Karen this year and not this year. I get it. I get her parents are such a support for her, and they've been so amazing to her. But some people I heard from on the outside had nothing to do with anybody down in Canton. Nobody. It was people who had never really saw anything that had to do with Karen, like her turning around to her parents, like during sidebars and stuff like that. Like they thought her demeanor when it was they didn't like it, and I was like, yeah, but she's just looking for support. Like I was like, what are you talking about? But I think with her going up to sidebars, that has been taken out. I feel like that. I think Karen looks awesome this year. She's she looks very strong, and I feel like her and the defense are, I mean, Alessi is like a wizard, you know, and I feel like that this year it's clicking a little bit more than it did last year. Just because they're now the defense is going to put on even more of a case. They only had what 4 or 5 people testify last year for them, so I feel like this year there's more of a chance for the jury to get more of the story from the defense, coming from the defense, instead of like, you know, them batting down all the prosecution witnesses.
Things I was thinking about today is with Karen, the speaking out in front of court, and just, you know, and even the media stuff that's been used against her in this trial. What do you think? Should she be still speaking to the media on the steps or not? Go to Mazza first.
Yeah, thank you. I don't think it matters. I also, additionally, I don't think all these clips that they've used against her in court are going to matter, because I think by the end of this trial, a lot of that's going to be out of sight, out of mind, unless, of course, the jury is. It's one thing for the jury to take notes. I heard one juror. There was a rumor I heard. I don't know if it's true or not, but one juror actually asked for a second notebook because they already got through their first notebook. But you know, when it comes time to jury deliberation, though, how much time do you really have to thumb through a notebook that you've taken notes on for the last couple of weeks? I mean, how many times you're going to sit down and say, "Oh, hold on, before we deliberate, let me just sit down and read through my notes for the first couple of minutes and what pages are going to be missed or not missed." And I have to imagine that those clips that they played of her, you know, how much is it really going to bear on the final deliberation process? I don't think her speaking out. I think that probably it's in her best. It's hard to say, because I feel like whether or not it can be used against her. And you know, a lot of times they take it out. Excuse me, all the time they take it out of context. But the same thing, it's how much of it is going to be presented in court, how much of it's going to be actually memorable. I think they've used those clips with interviews as a way of trying to almost like a backdoor way of getting her to testify without actually calling her to testify or being called to testify. Here are clips. Here's Karen Reed making verbal statements that can be self-incriminating in court. That's kind of been their tactic. You know, but I don't think it's, I don't hope, at least I hope, at least I hope it depends on the juror themselves, but at least I don't think it's going to be too much of an overall thing, because I think at the end of the day, you know, I hate to make a comment like this, but, you know, regardless of what Karen says or doesn't say, evidence is still evidence at the end of the day. Yep. If it doesn't make sense to the juror that the taillight would shatter, if it doesn't make sense that those wounds are from taillight, you know, then, you know, it doesn't matter what Karen says or doesn't say. You know, she could say whatever, but end of the day, you know, the evidence is still the evidence, and the evidence doesn't add up. So that's my take on that, Mike.
Yeah, I agree. There was one clip, I think it was one of the last ones that he played, that I was like, because we saw how he cuts it off, like splices it in the middle of like a sentence and makes something seem worse than it is. I loved the interview that she did with Ted Daniel, especially with the two of them in the car. I think that was one of the best interviews. It showed Karen's personality and how, you know, when you actually have a conversation with her, how she sounds, and, you know, how smart she is, and not just taking little bits and pieces of things. And I wish that the HBO ID channel thing didn't happen, because that's where he got a lot of those clips. But I kind of agree. You know, I don't think that her talking outside, because the clips that she does outside, the little bits that she does, I don't think I've heard any of those that hurt her. I don't think there's much he can glean from those. But it's just the things where he's slicing and dicing those interviews, especially from the ID channel, HBO, a body, what is it called? The Body in the Snow. I think those ones he's really like sliced and diced to make it seem like it says one thing when it doesn't say even something even close to that.
Yeah, that's exactly right. They take it out of context. I like to call it playful misinterpretation, where you play
Yep.
around with the video and then misinterpret it in a way that makes it seem favorable against Karen. I think that's the only risk that she ever runs. With that said, there's always an opportunity for the defense to refute that or call it out of context if they ever feel the need. I can't even recall if the defense has actually ever refuted any of it yet, but that's just something that I look at and say, well, I don't think it's too big of a deal. I think it might slightly for one juror or two have an effect, but I also think it could be the reverse effect. Why would Karen Reed do an interview? I know not every single time a person's innocent. There's been people that are guilty that'll go talk to the media too, but at the same time, I still think it's a big statement for someone that goes on the news and claims they're innocent and is willing to speak to the news and claim that they're innocent instead of just hanging their head and walking out the door. And I think that's really been the heart of Karen Reed since the very beginning, is being outspoken. When I actually became a fan of Karen Reed, I don't want to use the word fan, a follower of Karen Reed, a supporter of Karen Reed, it was actually because her and Alan Jackson spoke out in the front of those steps in 2023. And that was the moment where I said, this is something to this. Let me look into what's going on here. And I did. And for me, that was her speaking out. If she didn't speak out, I don't ever start following this case, and that's how I look at it. So I'm actually glad I had that memory, because that's a really big statement, for me, is to say, hey, well, actually, her speaking to the media actually brought me into this now that I think about it,
Yeah.
So, statement made earlier about comment here made about Carl Steinbeck saying that Karen Reed shouldn't be so involved in her defense, which to me, I generally like. I guess apparently he said he wouldn't allow it if she was her client, which to me, I mean, I love that she's kind of involved, because I feel like it's like another member. She knows the case as well as anybody else on her team. But at the same time, I think it kind of points to what Mizzy said earlier, that some people are turned off by that. And
Mm,
I almost feel like it could also play into the thoughts that she's so controlling, she has to be involved in her own defense,
mm.
where you should just let the professionals take care of it. And it might, jurors are strange. So what do you all think? Do you think that maybe she should act a little more like a regular, you know,
I think it's a
as
tough
someone
call
who,
because
yeah,
Karen's such a I mean, before last year they were saying she was basically the fourth lawyer at the table.
right,
And
she is.
she's so quick on getting whatever the lawyer at the podium needs, or
Exactly.
to if the person asks.
Is that playing good to the jury though? Do you think the jury, that there could be, because all it takes is one juror, to
Yeah,
be turned off by that kind of stuff, which it sucks to say, but
yeah, I don't know. Like, I think it's a better look than, like I said, I heard from a few people who said that last year. I was like, what are you talking about? I was like, Karen's awesome, and especially after meeting her, she's so kind and warm.
he
And
is.
when I spoke to her, we had an amazing conversation, and um, she's further than what people's opinion of her are. Um, and but I mean, but I'm also a strong woman, so like a woman getting up there and like handling her business, like I'm like, yeah, do it. But I don't know, like you said, all it takes is one juror to be like, who does she think she is? But I don't think um I don't know if somebody would like not totally like counter, guilty for that. you know they might just think it's a little weird how involved she is.
Always worry the subconscious,
Yeah,
that's how people pick up things, and next thing you know, they like, oh, I feel like she's guilty. They don't even know why. They
yeah.
just all of a sudden they're
They could also think that like she knows she's innocent, and she has to make sure that her lawyers have everything they need to advocate for her. She's advocating for herself, but she can't go up to the podium and ask witnesses questions. Obviously, I bet she would. I mean, what defendant wouldn't want to get up there? Obviously, she can't. But she's making sure that they have everything they need. And if because there's sometimes when you see see Liza little looking, and she's going through the book, and like Karen goes, and she hands it to her. Like Karen gets it before anybody else does. So I just think I think it's more of an asset than a deterrence. But you never know what, like you said, we never know what's in these people's heads. I mean, look at what Ronnie said when he interviewed with Turtle Boy. Some of the stuff that he said, like the distractors things, like it's like, that's insane. It's like, those aren't distractors. That's that's you not believing. That's making you think that, oh, that's odd, that's weird. I can't think of the word. That's a not guilty, or that's I can't think of the word I'm trying to say.
Take your time.
Sorry, I can't think of the word. But
Where did I go?
To say distractors, it's like you're not like you're not sorry, I forgot what I was trying to say.
Let me go to the next question then.
Yeah.
Shenanigans going on says, do you think Dever, and this is a question I don't know where they're coming from, but they asked me to read it. So you said, do you think Dever was called to set something up for Higgins? If you look at the waterfall video, you can see John O'Keefe say something to Higgins. I don't know how you're putting them two together. I'm not sure. Maybe I see what you're saying, because she was asked about him a little bit, but I mean, for the most part, I think she was called because she said she saw Higgins, and Berkowitz, back there. She saw them, and that was in her report. So I don't know what's bigger than that. That is the big piece. You know what I mean? Like I mean, if Higgins is on the stand later, he's going to be asked about it, obviously. But I think that's it. What do you both think about that comment?
I think that it was a good day to call her. I think that if they intend to call, whomever to the stand after her, Higgins, specifically, I think it's good to have her on first. It's, it's basically, you want to set up a good process, a good order of witnesses in that regard. And I think, especially with questions about Sallyport that came up today, there's a lot going on there. So I thought that this was she was an ideally placed witness at the right time, and I think that the defense is doing a great job cleaning up on witnesses that the prosecution avoided calling. I also think that to some degree the prosecution blatantly didn't call witnesses so they could cross them on the back end when the defense did call them. That's my thoughts as well. But I think that overall, there's an idea or information that needs to be presented before this jury that Dever could answer to, based on what I feel the defense's purpose of questioning her at this time was, that could set something up later in the road. Now, whether or not that's to the specifics of the question being asked in this chat below, the super chat below, but it could be for anything, Sallyport, whatever. There could be a lot of other reasons, but there was definitely a rhyme and a reason, because, for me, if I looked at this witness list, I didn't have Kelly Dever signed up as a person that I felt would be, a concern for me in terms of this being a big time witness that would cause as much reaction as she had on YouTube and on X today. I didn't expect that, we would have a cross-examination, be like, whoa, this is, even Aiden had posted, this is one of the more memorable witnesses, if not the most memorable witness on the stand today. And this is a witness that most of us would sit there and say, would fly under the radar for all of us. But yet here we were today watching her on the stand, and she was comparable to some of the most defensive, argumentative witnesses that we've seen in this trial or last year as well.
Yeah,
Definitely defensive.
Yeah.
I agree. Her behavior was outrageous. I just think she was a witness to what she saw, and when she was asked, she told the truth to the FBI, and she recanted because she met with her boss. I remember the words I was looking for: reasonable doubt. Distractors are reasonable doubt. My brain was just like, couldn't grasp it. It was off in the distance. But yeah, she saw what she saw, and I think it also proves the corruption angle. It shows that that thin blue line. People will go out of their way to protect that line.
Yeah. Yeah, they almost have like a silent duty to that because it will infringe on their whole career. It's like protect the blue line and trust the system will protect you is kind of, I think, the mentality. And that's what I think too. I don't know what her level of involvement was in this. I don't know what her level of witnessing anything is in this, but I'll tell you, it was to some degree far more than she had bargained for. That's kind of the impression I get out of her. I feel like she was kind of a very much on the outskirts of anything that happened, but she knows or saw, or perhaps her hands were involved. I don't know, to such a degree that, put her in a situation where she was certainly defensive. And it seemed to me that the defense team knew more than she realized that they knew. Excuse me, that she thought they knew. And I really think that unnerved her quite a bit. It's kind of like, surprise, they're shining the light on her, and maybe she thought she was more out of sight, out of mind in all of this than she or had hoped. And now there they are shining the light. And I think that really unnerved her quite a bit, to the point where you saw the level of agitation come out, and by making a lot of comments back to Alan Jackson that could have been, kept in her own mind and not verbalized today in court.
I remember the other question I asked on X that I wished Alan Jackson had asked her. Why did you leave Canton PD? Why did she leave? Obviously, she left.
That would have been a good question.
For a reason.
I was expecting that question, and it never came. You're right. Like, why did you? That probably might have been risky to ask, considering, but because maybe the jury will just assume the reason she left was because of. Do you know what I mean? Like, but yeah, I think you're right. I think they should have asked it. I think they should have asked it.
Well, leaving the Canton job for the Boston job makes sense career-wise, right? Like if she went from like Canton, sorry, Mike. If she
money-wise,
right? If she went from Canton to Dedham, or Canton to Quincy, or Canton to Foxborough, or Canton to wherever, it would be like what do you consider a lateral movement? That's okay. Why did you do that? So what I'm saying here is, if you go to Boston,
you make more money.
It makes more money, and it seems like less of a reason to leave. So to that point, to your point, maybe perhaps, I think that it was.
She'd have that excuse. She'd say,
right. It was some kind of.
I think that was the risk. And all of this was a risk. Like Bederow said earlier,
it would have been a simple
risky
answer
to have her on the stand, but it paid off.
Yeah.
I mean, they got what they wanted. I think they got what they wanted. They got the false memory, and then they got the FBI shit. I mean, that you can't beat that. I mean, that's like what I was asking Bederow. They asked about the video on the Sally Port. I said, because it looks like she's in it. It's either her or Rafferty in that Sally Port video, and he's like, they got what they wanted. They got enough. Like, it's almost like quit while you're ahead, right? Sometimes. So I think sometimes when we ask these questions, the defense knows when to quit when they're ahead. But I think when they quit, I don't know, today, it seems like they quit and they didn't even score a point. It was with that first witness today, the friend of Proctor. That was like a dud. That like went Brennan's way. What did you both think about that today? Did you see that, Mizzy, too?
Yeah. I mean, it went Brennan's way, only that it kind of looked like that the defense was hiding the ball. But that does not do any. Having those text messages read, whether his friend read it or Brennan read it, and that was weird too. Brennan was all too excited to be like reading those text messages. But either way, it doesn't matter, because they got to hear how nasty he was about Karen, and there's still a lot of text messages that they didn't read. So
I wonder how they'll bring him in.
Well, she said that they're already in they can look through them. They're already entered in evidence. But I personally think you got to call Proctor.
I know, but apparently they're not. Apparently they're not doing it. They could change their mind, but everything we know, they are not calling Proctor.
Yeah. Do you think they're going to call Higgins?
That's the thing. I don't know. I think they have to. I think they I don't know. I'm hearing some rumors too that he may be, I don't know. I don't even want to talk about it because I hate rumors.
Yeah.
Who knows? We don't know. What do you think about Proctor? Let's go back to Proctor before we talk about Higgins.
Sure,
Mazza, do you think they should
yeah.
bring in
Well,
Proctor or not? What do you think?
Well, I have some thoughts on Jonathan Diamondus. I can't pronounce all their names, but I was telling the chat, I go, wait for my response on this one. So we've been heavily debating for a couple of days now, myself, almost all of us, call Proctor or not. When I hosted a show on Saturday, we had to run a poll on it, and about 72% of the people watching the show actually said call Proctor. Now, here's the thing. To your point that you just made a few minutes ago, Mike, you said that they called Diamondus as a witness today, but yet really didn't really do much with it. But yet Proctor seemed to run to the end zone as much as possible and ask as many questions as possible. So here's my theory on this whole thing as to why they were a little bit more minimal with this. Why, trying to get the name spit out correctly here, Brennan asked so many questions is I think that basically what the defense did today was they called Diamondus as a witness and had him on the stand as a way of baiting Hank Brennan into revealing what he would do and how he would ask questions if in a situation. This is where I told everybody in the chat to look out for my response. They used him as a sample size to bait Brennan into cross-examining Diamondus in a manner that might be similar to how he might cross-examine Proctor if they decide to call him. So basically what I'm saying is they used him as bait today on the stand to try to see if Brennan would tip his hand or reveal his hand. And that's how I see that. That's to me, that's what I get out of this, because I didn't see what the defense was really trying to get out of this either. But then I see Proctor reeling off questions nonstop all morning long on this particular witness. So I think they used this as a little bit of a bait job to try to see what would Brennan do. And it was just kind of a sampling size of what would happen if they called Proctor on the stand, which tells me one of two things. Has the defense decided if they want to call Proctor yet? But if so, have they decided maybe they're going to call him? And just recently decided a couple of days ago when they listed this new witness, did they want to maybe get a little bit of Brennan to tip his cap a little bit? And if so, I think Brennan took the bait today.
Possibly.
Comment. The misadventurous book mouse says, I think Proctor is a big problem because he is not law enforcement anymore.
That's a big
I mean,
argument.
that could be. I wonder. We should ask Bederow about this. If because he's not law enforcement, does that bring up new problems? I think.
I think when they went back at his friend, the defense got to say, did you know he was, fired for this? Did you know he was fired for that, for bias in this case? So they got that all. And even though one of them, Brennan, objected, it doesn't matter. He got him in, he got all of it in. So that the jury doesn't, the jury heard it. That's all they needed to do was hear it.
Yeah.
This one, a Soren Fish says, door is now open for the defense to call Proctor's sister to get in the hope she herself. Ooh, and gift text no. What do you think? Do you think that they might bring her up? That'd be wild.
That text and the one about the gift.
Quite a turn if they brought her up there. We haven't seen her yet. This would be the first time they ever brought her up if they did. I don't know. I mean, I feel like if they're not bringing up Proctor, they're not bringing up Elizabeth Proctor, but I don't know. I mean, this is where chess comes into play, and I feel like you have these folks deciding have a lot more experience than us, like the Bederows of the world. He thinks they should bring Proctor in. I mean, I feel like that. I feel like the whole world wants to see Proctor. I don't know. We'll see what happens.
Because they don't even, I mean, unless they watched or how much they know or how much they're, abiding to the not look things up and stuff, they don't even know what he looks like.
True.
So it's like
maybe that's a good thing though, because I think a lot of times you fear the unknown more than what you see. And when you see someone in the flesh and blood, even when we see like a serial killer on TV, all of a sudden they're interviewed. They're not like the guy from Silence and the Lambs. You know what I mean? Sometimes you're just like, oh, he's gross. But you start to pity them a little bit because you realize like, oh, that guy had such a terrible life. Like he is awful. I don't think we should ever let him out, but you might start to pity them, and like That's what I worry about with Proctor, the humanizing. But I think Bederow made such a good point tonight. There's no humanizing this guy. When you have him on the stand, like look at what happened last time. I mean, what do you think? What do you think, Mizzy? I'll go with you first. Since you're the woman
I
on the
don't.
board here tonight.
He can't be humanized. I mean, there's too much. There's way too much that he's done and said. You
Do you think
know,
he could be scarier though, like not seeing him and hearing all that stuff?
yeah, but there's so much they need to get in, and it doesn't matter what Brennan does. There's like the Sally port of him being behind the car. Like I said, the gifts to
Just
Julie was going to give him a gift. Like I said, they could get Courtney to come up and do it. That in the what he said he wanted Karen to do to herself, they can get those in. I just think there's more. I mean, Brennan can say whatever he wants. They get to get him to him another time so they can come back at him. There's nothing that Brennan can do to salvage Michael Proctor. He's been fired. He's said all that stuff in the text messages. He's behind that car. I mean, they need to see him behind that car and say, look. And they tried to say, when we first got, last time in a proceeding, it was inverted. So it made it look like it's the driver's side when it's not. It's the passenger side. There's so much that they need to go over that I think only calling him in does.
is a good comment tonight. Charlene, Charlie Lynn, excuse me. Charlie Lynn says, "What about Liz has the blueprint? What do you guys think about that?" I don't know. Do we have any comment on that?
Yeah, I don't got much to say about that particular one. No.
Yeah.
'Cause I don't
I
even really
remember
know
hearing
about
it.
it. Yeah, I'm like, was that said tonight? It's funny
I don't
because
remember what it was
yeah,
referencing.
I might have missed that because today I was walking a lot more dogs than usual for some reason. I've been slowing down, and today it was like I'm listening while I'm walking dogs, and where I'm at, like all of a sudden you'd hear like, especially with Dr. Maria Russell when she was speaking, it would be like she'd say one word and then break up, and then hear another word because I had bad reception. So
Oh, that's rough. Yeah.
yeah, so I couldn't. I'm gonna have to listen back. I think I think all three of us missed that, Charlie.
Yeah, a
Lynn.
little bit. Yeah. I think I
Yeah.
must have missed that as well.
Maybe you need to explain it more to us. Us Rico says, unbelievable. The first guy said he didn't know who Liz was, but he was best man in their wedding. Bunch of liars, all deserve perjury charges. So the friend apparently,
Yeah.
I don't know.
I've never seen a
Let's
case
read
where
that.
so
I
many
know who
people.
Liz was, but he was the best man in their wedding. So he was the best man in Proctor's wedding. Interesting.
I've never seen a case
Wow.
where so many people claim they don't know each other that blatantly know each other or pictured together, pictured with each other in weddings, beach picture, just everything out there. It's always like this all the time. It's like all these people
See,
have more.
I could see like if you're at a wedding, you might not know everyone at the wedding, but if
Sure.
you're the best man, you know the
Yeah.
bride.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean
exactly.
that's yeah. I've been the best man once, and I
Yeah.
knew the bride. Like
Right.
like oh man, let's do this one. I think we got a couple more.
Sure.
Well, we do. They're all coming in now. Usually they're for Mark, they're for us. Blueprint equals JM timeline.
All
Oh yeah.
Oh, Jen McKay. Oh,
Yeah.
Jen McKay timeline.
The timeline. That would be a good point to bring her in. Heads everywhere. Denise Wiekmeyer, thank you so much, Denise. She says, my psychologist is a leader in debunking false memory and leads seminars across the U.S. in the 25 years that I have been with him for childhood trauma. FM is not believed like it once was. It's so funny because I was talking to Mark before the show a little bit about it. Like, you want to go through down a YouTube rabbit hole, go down the YouTube rabbit hole on false memory. And some of the conspiracy theories and all kinds of stuff. It's just it's wild because I think there was definitely like a satanic panic at one time in the 80s, but I don't know. Maybe I think some stuff might have gotten overlooked too because I don't know. It's very strange, the whole thing. I mean, either side, I don't know. I think false memories definitely do happen, but I don't think in this case it was a false memory. I don't, it
She
just
had way too
doesn't
many
feel like it.
details. She
Yeah,
was like, she was way
yeah,
too detailed about it. No,
yeah.
no.
I just wonder because this guy says he's a psychologist and he says debunking false memory. You know, it's one of there was a Fells daycare in Malden, Mass.
Mhm.
There's a famous case about child abuse, a child, you know, whatever we're gonna call it. I don't want to say the words, but you know
Yeah.
what I'm talking about. And there was like a lot of controversy whether these people actually did it, and it was about the false memories. And on that one, I don't know. I think there might have been some false memories planted, and it was just the way it was done. Is that these psychologists came in with these kids and they asked them the questions over and over again until they got the right answers. I felt like in this case,
Mm.
but I feel like in most cases that doesn't happen. Those are young children, so I could see that way children could be, and it's like almost what I think sometimes has happened to some of the witnesses where they're hanging around certain people and they're all of a sudden their story changes. You can be influenced. You know, I don't
Yeah,
think it's really false memory. I think it's your memory has been influenced. The more people you talk with, that's why when the police are supposed to write a report like in a day or two because their memory is untainted. Your memory, everything that you saw, you're not remembering things later that get added in and get confused, talking to people. So that's why, like the immediate reaction, the immediate memory, you write the report. That's why it's important to have a timely report, right? So you don't misremember later because time can change your memories. But your initial memory should be the strongest and sharpest. So you know, I think false memory is yeah, I think it is not really a false memory. I think
well, look,
sometimes people's memory gets influenced.
yeah. Look at this case. Nuttall and from Flamonte, is that his name? They both
Do you think they
admitted
had
in
false
the
memories? I
trial.
think they were influenced. I think their
Yeah,
memory was influenced and they don't even know it.
yeah. I
Like how
mean,
we misremember things years later. You know, like you tell a story from a high school, two different people that were there, they're gonna tell a totally different story about the same incident because they
Right.
remember. But if it happened today, you know, like if they had written, like let's say it's 1985 when I'm in high school, right? And something happened, an incident. We both and two people wrote down what happened. That is what I would trust, not their recollection 25 years later about what
yeah,
happened. Do you know what I'm saying? So
yeah, exactly.
the immediate, that's what matters. And her immediate story is different. It's a lot different. It helps the defense. So
Yeah. I have another question that I want to throw out to you
go
guys
ahead.
about Dever. How did the FBI find out that she knew something?
Mm. Mm.
Good point.
She must have mentioned it
He
to
must
somebody
have said something or
Yeah.
done something or written something or
Yeah.
yeah. That's
because
a
it's
good
not
point.
like, I mean, it's not like
Yeah, they're
they
not. It's not like they question every single Canton police officer. I'm guessing.
Right. Right.
that, and it's not like she was questioned. Like what the FBI was
Yeah, like
starting.
18 months later. Yeah.
Yeah, they were pulling people in what was it, May
Yeah.
May and June to
Yeah.
the grand jury. So somebody had to have mentioned her.
Maybe I could also see them calling in all the people that were there that day, though. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If she was in the dispatch with Good, you know, I think that's good. I don't know. Maybe no one said anything because think about it. If Good is the only other person that took the call, well, here's someone else who was there around the time. You know what I mean? So, like, I think it would be natural for them to call to make sure. And especially, they probably, I have a feeling they found out she went to Boston soon after. And that's probably why. And maybe the defense even said something to her. Maybe Karen said something to her. You know, there's a lot of ways they could have kind of gotten there with her. You
There's
never
so
know.
much about her testimony now, like that keeps making me think like I wish they knew what her time clock was for the day.
Yeah, right.
Did she leave? Because she kept saying I left at 3:45. I left at 3:45. Did she leave at 6:45?
Don't know.
You know, or 5:45?
We'll never know. Who said it today? If Karen Reed is found innocent, acquitted, it's all over. Then we'll never hear anything about this again,
Yeah.
which is sad. I mean, one of the things we definitely want to do tonight is make sure we're promoting this from Mizzy and some other folks are holding this event. A standout June 12th, Thursday, June 12th, 2 to 4 p.m. It might go to 5 p.m., but it's going to be at the Norfolk DA's office. And it's a half day of court that day, so everyone can get there. You got John O'Keefe there with Karen Reed to support them, and Sandra Birchmore. And you have Justin Root there, and Enrique Delgado Garcia, we just found out there's a grand jury going on about
Jury.
that, which
Yep.
is very interesting. Hats off to LTL Media, who's been the champion of that one for a long time.
For sure.
And I got to say, Jen, for Justin, her brother, she's phenomenal too. Jen Root.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, and Mizzy, you for Sandra, thank you
you.
so much for doing that. What are your final thoughts tonight? We'll go to Mizzy first since we're talking
Yeah,
about
can
the
I just
stronger
mention about
standard.
this?
Yeah. go ahead.
You know, a couple weeks ago, I don't even remember what it was because Bev does so many things that piss us off. But there was a ruling she made a couple Fridays ago, and I was like, we've been talking about doing another Morrissey standout, and we are in the works. We're gonna plan another State House standout.
Love it.
But we were in the works. We've been talking about it, myself, Jen Root, and Deanna Corby. And something happened, and I was like, oh, hell no. So I got on the, I started texting both of them. I'm like, we need to, no, I'm tired. I'm like no, we're doing this. And that we were trying to find out when they were going to have a half day. And the last half day didn't work out. So I talked to SD, and I was like, when's the next half day? And she said the 12th. And I was like, girls, let's go. Let's effing go. We're doing this. So I just want to say, if you're in the area, or if you feel like you can get there, please come join us. You can make a sign on a piece of cardboard. Don't feel like you have to, buy a sign. You can make an easy sign and come stand with us, or if you want to come hold something for Sandra Birchmore, we have banners and flags and stuff that you can hold. Just come down and join us. We need everybody there, and we're supporting. It's the Stronger Together coming together, because we believe all three of these cases are connected by Michael Morrissey's office and the horrible investigations that they did on all three of these cases. And also, we adopted Enrique. He's not Norfolk County, but his
Awareness.
Investigation at the beginning. So please come stand with us if you can. If you can't get there that day, try to go down to the courthouse and show Karen some support. I went there a few weeks ago, and the day Erica Walsh was arrested, and it was a wild day. And
how tense was that? How tense was that day? Because it seemed
it
like
was crazy.
It
It was like I was like, I picked the right day to come.
yeah.
But come. I know not everybody can get there, and I fully understand that, because I wasn't able to get there last year. But you can go into the buffer zone with pink on. You just can't wear like a Free Karen Reed shirt anymore. So if you can't come next Thursday, get down to the courthouse and show Karen some support that way, because we are stronger together. And that's what we call the groups coming together, like Megatron,
So you mentioned Jen Root is going to be part of this as well.
Yes.
And what about Trooper? He never got to be a trooper, I guess, even though it says Trooper Enrique. What about Enrique Delgado Garcia?
We're going to
Is
reach
his
out to
family
his
going to be there?
family to make sure that they are aware that we're holding it. We're already working on that. His family came last time, so we hope they come this time too. If you're somebody who has something that happened to you, and you feel, I know somebody commented on one of my things the other day. They said, what about Craig Casey? Come on down. This is all you know,
It's
people
everybody.
who have had
It's
issues.
funny. It's funny, Mizzy. I'm glad you said that because there's so many people that I hear from who have issues in Norfolk County and other counties too.
Yeah,
Other cities. Everett is another one that always comes up. I can't cover it all, but I mean,
yeah,
I think people do need to come together. Like it's if you have an issue, this is a perfect place to get with your people. Stronger
yeah.
together, stand out. I
If
think
you want to
that's
fight against
you have
corruption,
strength in
come
numbers.
down.
Strength in numbers. Find your
Yes,
people. Find your
yes.
community.
Thank you for having me on, Mike, to promote this, because it's
I love it.
it's
You
we
do
need to
God's work.
get this out there as much as we can.
I want to see everybody. Hopefully, everyone starts going to all these standouts, and especially again to court. I heard there were more people. Aiden was reporting today. There was more people at court today,
It's
so I
good.
hope to see that continue. It's going to be really nice weather, and prepare because it's going to get really hot. Apparently,
Yeah.
Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday.
Yep.
So get ready for the heat.
Yep.
I'm good. I got my AC fixed to my car this year. So, but now I got a recall. I got a recall on a some kind of fuel pump issue. I'm like, shit, should I drive anyways? I will. I mean, we'll see. I might get fixed this weekend. We'll see if they can fit me in. But there's always an issue with the cars, Mazza, are you lucky with cars or unlucky? What do you think?
Well, I had an incident about 15 years ago with my motor vehicle, which was
Ooh,
pretty intense. I won't tell that story online, but
oof,
it was quite the story. But no, other than that, I've been fortunate in recent years, which is great. So
good.
with vehicle reliability,
Well,
that's for
I
sure.
yeah, I'm on warranty all the time. So like now I
Uh,
don't even care. It's just
yeah,
about
there you go.
time. It's always about
Yeah,
time. It's like, can I get that
yeah,
car over the dealership?
yeah,
But I love my dealer because I realize they have cheap rentals. I'm like, I always get a
yeah.
rental now. Got to get a rental. So Mazza, what are your final thoughts tonight? Anything
Uh,
you didn't get to share or any more spicy
oh,
rants? What do you have for
no,
us?
we're out of rants. Usually the rants are usually my first two talking segments, but no, no. Basically, this is all up into the jury's hands right now. But the best way the jury can dissect this stuff is by the defense continuing to do what they did today, which is basically put up great witnesses. And if they put up witnesses that are either great for them or in more ways than one, such as Dr. Marie Russell being able to prove their point, or Kelly Dever being able to be someone that kind of really exposes the people that were involved in the cover up a little bit more than what they thought. So it's going to be great to see how the defense is continuing forward. I saw someone's post in the comment section about a half hour ago saying Lucky Loughran and Barrows are both coming up this week as well, which is great. So I'm pumped. I'm excited. It's just so eerie in a way how much this is echoing last year, where it was like an April, May, June trial, and it's the same way last year. And the only thing that's not happening this year is the Celtics aren't winning the title, which me and Bederow enjoyed last year. But we didn't get everything we wanted last year because we wanted Karen Reed's innocence. So we didn't get the Celtics championship this year. So maybe we'll get the Karen Reed victory this year once and for all. And that's when the dominoes are going to start to fall for Karen Reed being able to start filing some lawsuits here and getting on the offensive instead of playing the defense, which she's done for well over 3 years now. You look at this standout that's coming up that Mizzy and others are putting together here. Whether or not Karen Reed is in a third trial or is innocent, there's still justice for John O'Keefe that's needed here. And that fight continues as well going into the future, is that there's going to be that dogfight to kind of get justice for John O'Keefe, which I truly will never think, I truly don't believe will ever happen towards the in terms of the people behind it ever being brought to justice through our state-based or county-based legal system. It's going to have to be an FBI thing because this crime scene was so botched, and in my opinion, botched, in many other people's opinions, probably botched intentionally to a point where even if there was a case brought against anybody, they'd probably never be able to bring them to prison or justice. So it looks like it's all in the hands of the FBI. But the one thing that is in the hands of anybody right now is the jury being able to acquit Karen Reed, and that's what we need first and foremost. And I'll tell you, if that's the one thing we get in all this, that's the most important part, because you can't have an innocent woman spending years of her life behind bars for a crime that she never committed. Whether John O'Keefe ever gets justice or not will remain to be seen. But what we cannot have is an innocent woman spending her life serving a crime for a crime that she did not commit, and people furthermore that framed her for that. If you think the Karen Reed movement has been vocal now, just wait until they try to frame her. They try to do more against her to put her in a bad situation, and that will not stand. and we will not stand for it. So I don't think Karen Read will ever be, by any jury, considered, guilty. But at the same time, I don't want another situation where a mistrial can be declared again. And here we are a year from now, wondering, will Karen Read be innocent, and will the Boston Celtics win an NBA championship? But it's just kind of the situation we're in right now. Karen's in right now, but this needs to be it right now. First of all, it should have been it a year ago, admittedly, but this needs to be it right now. This all needs to end. The whole frame it on Karen Read thing needs to end. It's over. It was old a year ago. It was old 2 or 3 years ago in Karen's life, I'm sure. For us, it's been, for me, I've been following this for just over 2 years. For Karen Read, she's been living this nightmare for well over 3 years. And and people say, well, Karen, is all about herself. Well, yeah, because people are out there trying to pin it on her, and she's had no time to even mourn John O'Keefe's death because she's been fighting for her survival. The people that killed John O'Keefe are the same people that put this on her. Both of them are victims in this situation, one with their life and one with their freedom. And it's just unbelievable what's gone on in Norfolk County, that you have a DA that's blatantly as corrupt as he is, that was outspoken on this matter in a way he shouldn't have been a year ago. It's simply just not true and it needs to stop. All that nonsense, which was unbecoming of a DA, quite frankly. And again, the only thing that needs to stop is the frame job of Karen Read and the cover-up of John O'Keefe's murder. That's what needs to stop. That's what needs to be over. That's what needs to end. And quite frankly, I'm sick of watching Karen Read go through all this. I love supporting her. I do. It's great to see the energy that Free Karen Read has, but it's time for Karen Read to go from Free Karen Read to Karen Read, FKR to KRF. Karen Read freed. That's what our new slogan needs to be, and it can be that in just a little bit of time. I'm expecting jury deliberations around mid-June based on what Karen Read said on how long she expects the defense to direct examine and call witnesses, but I'll be happy when this is all over. As much as I enjoy coming on these shows and fighting for Karen Read's innocence, I enjoy fighting for her. I enjoy being outspoken about that, but at the same time, how much more of her life needs to be spent on this and fighting for this. It's time for her to be able to go on the offensive. And that's my
thing with
thoughts.
our supporters, all of our supporters. We need to be able to move on too.
Yeah, exactly.
We've been spending so much time on this. I saw Rita the other day. She gave me the biggest hug. It was just amazing. She was like, Mike! It's amazing to see Rita. Rita Lombardi the other day.
We miss Rita. We miss Rita. She was on the front lines last year, but
I think I'm going to get her on the show again. She definitely. I mean, I went live from like one of the standouts this weekend, and she saw it, and she was at work.
Yeah,
and she left work to come see me on her break, and was like, "Now I got to go back to work." She was literally there like 2 minutes just to hug me, and then ran back to work. And she's like, "Mike, I'm gonna be around. I think she's gonna be. I think she might be hitting some standouts soon, hopefully. Or
that'd be great. We missed her, and she gave me a shout out on your show a couple of weeks ago when I took my time away. I needed a time away and needed some time to kind of break from a lot. We all do. Yeah, exactly.
And I think I need to get Rita back on the show too.
Yeah,
I need
we
some
do.
Rita
We
in my
miss
life.
Rita. She was awesome.
Well, I'm so glad you both were here tonight with Attorney Mark Bederow too. Thank you for spending your night with us, Mizzy. Tell us how people can find you, promote yourself. Where you're on social media, YouTube. Tell us about where people can follow you.
Yeah, come follow my channel. It's a mixed girl in a mixed up world. I'm almost at 2,000 followers, so help get my numbers up. I'm on Facebook's under the same name, a mixed girl in a mixed up world. You can follow me on X under Mizzy B or the Sandra Birchmore page. It's at Sandra Birchmore.
Excellent. I follow you everywhere, especially the Twitter, the X. A lot of people follow that account too. Yeah. Excuse me, I got the hiccups now. Mazza, tell people where they can follow you and find you.
At Mazza Media on X, and then at Mazza Media _on YouTube. It's so horrible. There's another Mazza Media on YouTube that got that handle before me. I wake up every day and I ask, how could this be? This doesn't make any sense.
Mazza, I have a young, I'm Young Jerks 1 now on YouTube. Yep. I have the other Young Jerks. I can't like figure out like the password or whatever. So
Oh,
that's why
so
I
you can't
started
get into
Young
it?
Jerks 1.
Yeah, that's
Oh man,
funny.
I've had so much social media stuff over the years. Some of it's abandoned. It's just
Yeah,
funny. It's
that's great.
but it's funny. Yeah, it's like
Good
that's why
stuff.
I'm Young Jerks 1. So
Yep.
I'm the jerk who screwed myself. Someone else screwed you and got Mazza Media first on
Don't
YouTube. But
forget to donate to Mike Crawford's Defense Fund. This is your
oh, thank you.
opportunity. If you've ever wanted to free a jerk in your entire life, this is now your chance to free a jerk, a young jerk. Mike Crawford, donate to his defense fund as well. This man's battling some stuff, and his legal defense fund is out there. I made a donation to that recently. A lot of people have made donations. It's great. I think it's over $10,000 already. But free a jerk, free Mike Crawford.
Thank you so much, Mazza. And yeah, it definitely helps. I want to thank everyone for last night's show too. DJ, Beatrice, Nan Gallagher, John Como, Mazza Media. I feel like I'm missing some people. Gray Space. Is there anyone else I'm missing on there? That was a good show last night. I really appreciate everyone being on
Yep.
there and supporting my defense fund. It's funny too because there weren't a lot of viewers on the two channels that were broadcasting because we were up against Bederow and Melanie Little. Everyone's
Oh,
watching there, but we
oh, wow.
still raise money. Like that's
That's
what I
great.
love. I love my diehards. I love the people who are
Yeah.
here, no matter who's on. You are the ones that I love the
Mm.
most, and especially last night, you like raised money for me with that little viewers. It's like that was amazing to see. So thank
That's
you.
awesome.
We raised over $1,000 last night doing
That's
that. Thank you
awesome.
so much, everybody.
Yep.
All right, so I'm gonna wrap it up. Thank you so much again, Mizzy and Mazza Media. We'll see you next time, and thanks for being here tonight.
Take
Thank
care. Have a good
I
one.
know.
Free Karen
And
Reed.
free Karen Reed, Mazza. And yeah, I want to thank everyone who's been supporting the fund. Oh, here's a comment too I want to respond to. Amor of Alessi, one of my favorite commenters here, says, Mike, some idle curiosity. I can't even say that word. How are you? I can't even. You're asking me about Norfolk, but I can't even say curiosity. Let me say it again. Mike, some idle curiosity. How are you in Mass? And don't say Norfolk. Norfolk. I don't know. I don't even know how I say no. I think I just say Norfolk. I don't know. I guess I probably don't have the Canton, I you know, accent on Norfolk because I'm not from there. I'm a North Shore guy. We were like, where's Norfolk? We don't even know where Norfolk is, really. The only reason I know where Norfolk or Canton is because I went to Bridgewater State. I went to school on the South Shore for 5 years, but I didn't pick up any of the South Shore accents. I'm always a North Shore guy. Norfolk. Is that how they say it? Don't say Norfolk. I just say Norfolk. I don't know, man. We all have different accents. If you really want to hear like the real Bubba, the Byfield Bubba accent that I grew up with, you don't want to hear that accent, boy. Let me tell you, Bubba, they have an accent up there in Byfield. It's like totally different. It's like one. It's not even a town accent. It's a village accent. It's one village. That's it. It's not even a town. It's a village. Funny as hell. They had their own. They had their own words up there, Byfield. All right. I want to thank everyone for being here. I want to thank Mizzy. Definitely follow her on YouTube and on Twitter and everywhere else she's at. Oh, what did I forget you on, Scott? I was on there, but Mike always forgets me. You were on. Oh, last night. You're right. Oh my God. I'm sorry, Scott. That's bad. I don't always forget you. I don't know why. That's funny. Sorry, Scott. You were on there. Thank you so much for being there last night. You're right on the. I don't think I always forget you. I think I forgot you this one time. I don't usually forget you when I'm thinking the mods, do I? Right. I want to thank our moderators, Sarah Shockenhara again, Stephanie, Jen and MJ, and Scott McGinnis. See, I didn't forget you. Thank you, Scott, for helping raise the money last night. Yeah, I can post a direct link. Well, why don't I do that before I leave if I can? I thought the mods might have done that already. I'm not sure. I can do that. Let me do that. Let me find her link. Hold on one second. If you want to wait, do you mind waiting while I do it? It's not working. Hold on one moment. Here we go. Oh, it's not working, of course. God damn. Let me do it this way. Hold on. Easy to do on the computer. In the chat now. So follow Mizzy. It's just been posted in the chat. Norfolk? Does it sound weird? No one says I'm not sure false memories are the same thing as planted memories. I don't know. I don't know if I really believe in false memories, you know? I just think that we get influenced in our memory. Sometimes we're influenced by ourselves, you know, and our memories change. Memory is not something that's static, you know, it's not always the same. So I think that we can be our memories can be influenced by ourselves and other people. And I trust someone's memory more closest to the event than later. But this whole thing is just bizarro. That whole thing. Oh, it's a false memory. I had to correct it. All right, I'm gonna head out. Tomorrow morning we'll be streaming live, definitely at 9 a.m. From court. I'm looking forward to that tomorrow morning. And also, you'll will be live tomorrow night. I think at 7. I'm not sure yet. I'm gonna be live tomorrow night with Jessica Machado, and she's gonna give some reporting from the court tomorrow night about what she's seeing from the courtroom. Oh, thank you, Legal Tubes. I'm just reading your chats. This is when I can't walk away. I always say that I'm gonna leave. I'm gonna end the show, and then I ask 10 more questions, and I read all your chats. I never get out of here. It's time to go. I've been live since 6 o'clock. 2 hours and 44 minutes. It's time to be done. I'm gonna go spend some time with Charlie now. Have a great night, everyone. I'll see you tomorrow morning in court. Thank you again, Mizzy, Mazza, and Bederow. Mr. Bederow, Attorney Bederow, thank you so much, all three of the guests tonight. Thank you, everyone who super chatted us. Thank you to everyone who Venmoed. I should check Venmo, Cash App. I think some did come in today or the last few days, and I haven't been able to get to them. So let me just check the Venmo and make sure I'm thanking everyone. Sometimes I forget. Oh yeah, Liz Neighbors. She said 25. She says, hashtag free Mike Crawford. You're the best. Thank you so much, Liz. You rule. Thank you, Liz. Tara F also sent $25 the other night. She said, I love your style. Yes, that means your attire and your show, obviously. Use how you feel fit, Tara. Thank you, Tara F. You rule. Thank you so much, Tara. And I don't know if I read this one. I might have the other night. Brandy I also sent some money the other day. What did she send? She sent $25. Thank you so much, Brandy. And I think I did see something on the Cash App. Let me make sure. This was on Friday. I don't know if I got to thank Beverly. She said $20. She said, thanks, Mike. Thank you, Beverly H. Still got these in Gary. Gary sent some money the other day after I met Howie Carr on Friday. I met Gary in person in Canton this weekend. Gary's a great guy. Thank you so much, Gary. And also Russell S. This was like a week ago. Sent $10. I'm not sure I ever thanked them on the Cash App. Sometimes I miss the Cash App. So thank you so much, everybody who's been sending Venmos, donations, super chats, and especially the donations to the Legal Defense Fund. If you want to find it, it's pinned at the top of the chat tonight. You can support my Legal Defense Fund, or you can always do a Google search for it. Young Jerks Legal Defense. It will pop right up. Give, send, go. All right, I'm done. Have a great night, everyone. Thank you so much. See you in the morning.